1st, 2024. Today, just some announcements before we start. Mr. Lowe will be absent, and Ms. Mary Jenkins is seated for him, except on application number 4, on which Mr. Wells will be seated. In addition, application number 3 in the 240 GA LLC for a final site plan and special permit to build an 830G development at 240 Greenwich Avenue. 60 units, that has been withdrawn by the applicant, and we will not be hearing it tonight. And with that, we will begin with the first item. By the way, where is our court reporter? I'm not seeing him.
Here I am.
Oh, hello, Mr. Court Reporter. Okay. So our first, I'm going to promote him first.
Mr. Tang, just accept the promotion.
Yes, he's working on it. There he goes. All right. And he's on his way.
Oh, that was a long pause there, huh? Okay.
Yeah, it was. And Mr. Tang, if you could unmute, you just muted yourself. If you could unmute somewhere on your screen, it should tell you to, there's a mute, unmute button. There you go. Perfect. If you want to turn on your camera, that's right. That's fine. You can start your video, but it's all right if you don't. So our first application is Zhang Tang for a final site plan to construct an addition to connect the main dwelling to the accessory structure to convert from a single family to a 2-family dwelling, and construction of 2 proposed parking spaces in the front yard on a 7,510 square foot parcel located at 31 Prospect Street in the R6 zone. With that, Mr. Tang, would you like to begin? Oh, by the way, there's a little thing that looks like a circle. It's like a little circle on your computer somewhere. It reverses the direction of your camera. Right now, your camera is blocked by something. So if you can figure out how to reverse the direction, we'll be able to see you. But again, it's fine. You can just start talking if you want.
Good afternoon, everyone. I want
Hello,
to thank
Mr.
you for your
Hello,
time
Mr.
and the
Tang.
effort and the service. And today I'm here. I already sent Bianca July 18, 2003, minutes by minute. If Bianca can bring up on the screen, that will be helpful.
Okay. Bianca, what you have?
You want the minutes?
PDF file, yes.
The minutes
The-
from the planning and zoning meeting
Yeah.
regarding pre-application?
This morning I sent you the latest supporting document. First page, there's an indicator list of each item we discussed back to July 18, 2003.
So, Mr.
Okay.
Tang, before you do that, before Bianca does that, let me just clarify one thing for you. What we do at the pre-application meeting is called non-binding. So after the pre-application is done, we can think of more things that we want to ask you about, and we're allowed to ask you those and to change the way we ask you things. So what the law says about the pre-application is it's to give you guidance, but it's non-binding is the way they write it for the commission. So anything that's in those minutes, we can still change it. It doesn't lock us in, okay? Just so you know that.
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you.
right.
And let me just briefly talk about since then. After the meeting of the July 18, I follow your guide each step to visit every department you guys recommend. I visit the highway division, and their manager provide me approval of the parking in front, and also the only thing
Mm-hmm.
Nicholas mentioned was the screening in front, which I also
Yes.
did.
Yes, and we're gonna look at that tonight. We're gonna look at, or
Beautiful.
today. We're gonna
That's
look at
one
your
thing.
screening. But just so you know, again, just so you're clear, Mr. Tang, the commission can add things to this afternoon that they think of. By law, we're allowed to do that. So, just understand that we weren't frozen forever in time after that last meeting, okay? Just, I want you to
Sure.
know that. Okay,
Excellent. Thank you
All right.
for clarification.
all right.
Number
Okay.
two, and I attend October 25th, 2003, variance appear.
Right,
Which
and you
also
got a variance for your front yard setback from the zoning board of appeals.
beautiful. Yes.
Yes, we're aware of that.
Yeah. So that's number two.
Mhm.
Number three, and I also following the Patrick recommend to update my survey from
Mhm.
engineer,
Mhm.
and I submit my application November 20th, 2003,
Mhm.
and I believe the section 6155 still valid.
Yes, 6155 applies to you. You are converting to a two-family, and therefore that's the section of the parking requirements that would apply to you, correct?
Correct. Thank you. That
Okay.
means I only thing I work out with the highway and also like to present to committee is the what I going to do right in front of my front yard, which
Right.
I already submit the ivy greenish ivy fence,
Right.
3 feet tall and 10 feet long to Bianca accordingly.
Mhm.
And also I provide the some of comparison from my neighbor 2 houses away from us is 35 Prospect Street. They also have parking in front. Also 57 parking in
Right.
front. 59 of Prospect Street has similar situation.
So on your block, Mr. Tang, on your block, because I haven't driven on your street since we talked to you for the pre-app. So just remind me, there are 4 houses that already, or is it 3 houses that already have parking in their front yard? Okay, that's 1, really bad. That's not a front yard parking there. It's on the sidewalk. It's off the sidewalk, so 2. And it looks like the house next to it as well. 3.
That's not on Ivy Street, or that's not on Prospect.
That's not on Prospect, this one?
No, that's on I think it's Viewpoint Road.
Okay, all right. So Nick, you know the neighborhood, that's not Prospect up there. So we have
Yes.
3 other houses that have parking in the front yard. This one, the last one isn't parking. It's really a driveway that has cars parked in it.
Right. The multifamily, the parking is actually underneath the building as required because it's in a flood zone.
Do you want me to Google Street View?
I have it in front of me already.
Well, yeah, but you don't like to share,
Yeah, I don't have to share.
Also,
as your wife talks to you about that. Just kidding.
Also,
Yes.
one of your committee member yesterday mentioned the parking situation. There's a ton of the other people. I can look up the further if you need it, but currently I like to ask committee to
That's a driveway. That's not parking in the front yard. That's
This
basically it.
is
That's
this
the
is
subject
31.
site.
Okay. All right. All right.
Bianca, if you go the other way to 17,
That's pretty, the landscaping.
right
don't-
there.
All right.
I don't know if you would consider that parking in the front yard.
Well, turn back.
That,
No, it has a
Yeah.
it has a walkway and then it has a driveway.
Okay.
I mean, this is the trick with that one. Patrick, you say, because to me, that's a driveway. But that's basically,
I'm sorry, which one are we
yeah,
talking
too
about?
late, too late.
Sorry. I looked down and we were
you're
driving
fired.
past, I guess.
Yeah.
Bianca, go down to 36 Prospect because I think that's one.
Yeah,
That's
that-
one for
oh.
sure.
yeah,
It's right there.
that one.
Yes, that one.
There you go. That's parking in the front yard.
Not sure if that's a two-family or a single family though.
Hmm. I can't tell from here.
I
I
think
know.
that's in house, to be honest, but that's
All right.
not here nor
Okay,
there.
so we know, Mr. Tang, looking at this, we know that there's some other houses that have parking in the front yard. Okay. What else?
Yes, I believe I done everything I could and follow your guideline since then. And 3 departments already done their job. And right now, my application is still on the Mr. Patrick department. And I'm looking forward to see the same consistent regulation will apply to my property since I done proper screening and section 6155 still valid, and
Yes.
I have fully confidence in the committee member to vote based on the fact I
Okay.
provide, and also
right.
consistency with the neighbor, and not to mention I'm in the R6 zone, and I received the CO for 2 building I had, and I received a variance for my new addition. So I believe I finished everything what I should say, and I done everything I should do, and right now I trust in you for
All
take
right.
over for decision.
So, Mr. Tang, after we do the pre-app and then we get to the real application, the law gives us the ability to ask you additional questions and to look at the landscaping, because you're right, for 6155, that's important. So now the commission's gonna, after they talked yesterday, now they're gonna ask you questions. So who would like to ask Mr. Tang some questions?
I would.
Okay, Mr. McRae.
Mr. Tang, you said that 3 departments have endorsed the project. I know zoning gave, or zoning Board of Appeals provided the variance of side yard setback. I know you have a engineering drainage exemption. I don't believe that sewer division's acknowledgement letter has been submitted. That's a critical thing for this project because it's on the Horse Neck line. Conservation did provide some comment. They were looking for some additional landscaping. And I know this is EMAC exempt. In looking at the information that you have provided, it doesn't seem to indicate that the highway division, which is probably not part of this purview at the moment, has not endorsed this. In the information that you provided to us, I could begin, should be here someplace. I believe Highway Division staff said that the conceptual plan is acceptable from the Highway Division. That's not an approval. And they actually add specifics as a separation between the edge of the proposed parking and the frontage of the property and the shoulder of the roadway. Okay, specifically, Highway would not issue a sign off in this case. Everything being proposed is falls within your private property and does not affect the town right of way. So I just want to make sure that you're not confused on that.
Absolutely.
The landscape plan that you provided is a little bit cursory. There's no specifications or account of the landscape itself. And then as the landscape, you're talking about some kind of an ivy fence at the property line, screening the two spaces. I'm not too sure if an ivy fence would cut it. We're usually looking for screening that's something more substantial, shrubbery or something, to really grow together and actually create a complete visual screen of those two parking spaces. In that case, the landscape that you would need to put in next needs to be in a planting bed of at least 2 feet wide, which now starts to compromise your parking layout. As I see it, the civil engineers provided a plan that shows the distance from the front of the house to the property line of about 18 feet, 18 and a half feet. If you subtract actually the 2 feet for your planting bed and staying away from the stair that's at the front of the house, there's only 14 feet. That's not enough for two parking stalls in that area. Kind of a critical thing, because I think you really need to do the layout based on 2 feet. Even as highway suggested, you need a buffer between that and the street for your planting bed to get proper shrubbery in there. And then see what happens with the leftover, because I don't believe you're gonna have enough room for 2 9-foot spaces.
Yes.
In addition, looking at your floor plans, and this is just a tip, as I was looking at the floor plans, you have it, there was 2 separate plans itself. I was actually concerned a little bit because they change from one day to another. So there's actually there's only 1 bedroom in the what you're proposing now, or is there 2?
1 bedroom in back unit.
Okay. And that's actually, let's see the date on that one. This was from the December 1st plan. Okay, understanding that if that's it, there's 1 bedroom.
Correct.
As I see it, and this will be just a tip for you, there's going to be an egress issue. Your egress window fronts on a stair. That's actually not code compliant.
So do you know about that, Mr. Tang?
Yes, first thing, I believe that Nick mentioned about sewer.
No, first go back to the window. Don't do the sewer yet. Let's just stay on the window, because what Nick is telling you is you're gonna have a problem with the building department, because what you're proposing for that bedroom, it has stairs in
Oh, yeah,
front.
yeah.
Okay, and the problem with that is that the building code requires that someone be able to leave through the window in case there's a fire. And Nick is just telling you that you're gonna have to change those stairs. We'll just make a note that you have to change it. Go ahead, Nick.
Well, it's very confusing because there's a stair and the window actually, according to the plan, faces another room. So you need to resolve your egress.
Yes,
Also,
thank you for that.
finding stairs, there's a stair that goes up in the existing garage. But it would seem to me if you get to the top of the stairs, you'd be hitting your head instantly on the roof. So that makes no sense to me as well. So I think an evaluation of your plans would be warranted. So,
Nick,
as I
you.
see it, I think in terms of a kind of a laundry list that you should be looking at here is the sewer acknowledgement letter, defining your landscape in terms of the width of the planting bed at the front, the specifications, and the count of the landscape materials. Verifying your parking layout based on the landscape plan that being there, the stairs at the front of the building, those kind of things, and then take a look at your plans. So I think that's
So-
the comments that I have, a laundry list of things for you to do.
I have a question for Bianca. Also, Mr. Tang just said that the second unit has 1 bedroom, and the old part, the original house, has 3 bedrooms. But it also says on our staff report that the second unit is a 2-bedroom. And so that's why your calculation is that he needs 5 parking spaces. So how many bedrooms are there and how many parking spaces does he need? Just trying to understand that.
So the parking regulations for 1 and 2 bedroom are the same. So
Okay.
that would not change regardless of bedrooms in the second unit, whether it was 1 or 2. The
And-
plans
and
that
wh-
were provided showed 2 bedrooms, one in that back unit and one in the addition, which was connected to the back unit.
Well, so that's the question. Do we have a 3-bedroom in the front?
Yes.
Okay, so we have a 3-bedroom in the front and a 1-bedroom in the back.
Correct.
Not a 2-bedroom in the back, but a 1-bedroom. Okay, all right, I just wanted to understand that. All right, so Nick is saying, the sewer letter, Bianca, you never got the signed sewer letter?
So Mr. Tang submitted an email acknowledgement of
Let's
my
see.
comment of the staff report, not an actual signed letter. So that would have to be an actual signed letter.
Okay. And then
I did
Nick-
read, I did see the email. The email isn't sufficient specifically, I think, because this is on the Horse Neck, main.
Mhm. And then Nick, you were talking about 2 other things that you wanted Mr. Tang to look at, and they were,
The landscape plan as a specificity of the materials and the count of the materials going to be planted and the width of the front planting bed along the street line.
so you were asking whether or not he has enough space for the planting plan.
Correct. So when, if
Okay.
you put in at least 2 feet to plant something, you may be compromising the width of the parking in the front yard itself. As I said, in terms of the layout I was looking at, actually, it only winds up to be about 14 feet plus or minus in width between the planting bed, which would be there for the required screening, and the front porch steps. 14.8 feet plus or minus. I'm not too sure if that's actually going to be enough width for 2 standardized parking spaces.
And then the conservation department was asking of another, if a tree could be added. Bianca, were you able to work on that?
I did send the applicant the staff report. I
Okay.
didn't hear any response on the conservation.
Okay, so, so Mr. Tang, would you be able to answer those questions now?
Yes, and in regard of Nick's bring up in the back unit, the window and the stair are right next to each other. Which one, if I may, I can close up that window from the 1 bedroom. Therefore, maybe will solve the issue Nick brought it up.
Actually,
Mr.
Mr.
Tang,
Tang, you'll have to work that out with the building department because you need to have a window in a bedroom that people can use.
it's a state code requirement, building code requirement, to have an egress in each sleeping room.
Or
So, yeah, so you'll, when you talk to the building department, and they won't approve you unless you have a window in the bedroom. But let's go back to the landscaping. So what Nick was asking, go ahead and ask your question again, Nick.
Okay, so we're looking for a 2-foot wide planting bed to actually put in shrubbery or something, something a lot more dense than just a fence with ivy growing on it. From other issues and other experience that we've had with parking in the front, that's what we're usually looking for, something, excuse me, Peter Levy, but like arborvitae or something like that, where it becomes a dense hedge to hide the cars. So that landscaping needs to be looked at. The specification of the plant materials and how many are there going to be planted out there.
may I answer the question?
Yes, of course.
Yes, and ideally would, Nick is right, but in terms of my condition, what I have, I did ask Bianca to make a 8.855 inches wide parking. Total will be 16 feet, something for the parking front. Therefore, I have enough reasonable room, maybe I can have 4-inch wide or 5 or 6 inches wide for the planting, make some compromise for what Nick's asking for. And also I already rotate the front stairway to the sideways. That will be make more room for me to do the Nick's recommend. So I also would like to asking other member of the committee to provide their sort of suggestion how to work out with the condition I have. I try to very cooperate, to be agreeable, and do my best to make my property nice, and also to make everyone happy.
I'm not
Mr. Tang,
go
before
ahead.
you move on from, I saw the revision to the plan where you move the stairs from one side, one corner to the other of the porch. When you move the stairs from one side to the other side of the porch, now you're encroaching into the driveway where the other cars are. So you have an encroachment in the front or an encroachment on the side, but you still have an encroachment with the stairs.
Because my driveway is very long, so if I are asking for committee for waiver, maybe I only have 2 cars. That's enough space, advance for 2 cars, so there will not be have an issue for the stair flip to the sideway, and also 265 Bruce Park. Bianca sent me. They have a very similar situation to get approval for 2 parking per unit, and also they have not put any planting and screening in front of their front yard, asking for it, and because it's easy for them to pull out based on the sight line.
Okay, I'm not, I didn't really understand. I didn't quite get that, Mr. Tang. You're saying that we would modify your parking requirement so that you could have the encroachment? Is that what you were suggesting? I'm sorry, I didn't really understand where you were going with that.
I spoke with Bianca, said for the currently there are 3 parking on my driveway according to my survey appraisal and the record. So I asking committee to consider waiver for my driveway parking. Only have 2 parking for driveway. Therefore, and that will save some room, and for the stairway on the sideway.
Bianca?
I believe what he's stating is instead of having 3 cars parked there, have only 2 and ask the commission to waive the parking requirement for 5 parking spaces and allow 4 so that they can do tandem parking in the driveway and allow space for that.
Thank you.
For the
Stairway.
stairs. Okay. All right, okay. Anything else, folks? No other questions from anybody? Okay, so right now we need the signed sewer letter. We've got the final landscaping plan or not? The question is there enough area to put in all the landscaping that's being proposed? Where did you come out on that, Bianca?
As far as, sorry, can you just
So
repeat that?
Nick was asking a question about whether the landscape plan fit in the, would work in the areas proposed.
I'm not sure, given the documents that were submitted. The landscape plan only shows some green circles. It doesn't show any kind of dimensions or anything like that. So I believe it would have to be on a survey.
Okay.
Or a formal landscape plan with
All right.
scaled dimensions.
Can can I say something?
Yes, of course, Mr. Tang.
Thank you for the. I do have a sufficient front yard space, which is 18 feet 4 inches deep, 40 feet wide. And Bianca already spoke with me before and talked about 8.5 wide parking, which combined together will be 17 feet. So I still have 1 feet 4 inches for planting.
Bianca.
Okay,
would you-
Mr. Tang,
Okay.
according to this drawing in front of us, you're showing 18 feet 4 inches from the front of the porch to the property line. You have to make sure that you have enough width in the front planting bed. It's a minimum of 2 feet. That's going to be your best bet for getting something to grow there. You also need to take away for the stairs that are there because the stairs would encroach into a parking space. That's the number that you're really looking for. Now, if you're looking for moving the storage to the side of the porch, as evidenced in the photograph we saw a few seconds ago, those stairs would encroach into the the side driveway.
Right.
And then you would be able to use the side driveway.
No,
At
he's
all.
offering to only use it for 2 cars.
Thank you.
So back up
Only
a
2
second.
cars, but two cars wouldn't fit because the 2
No,
cars are
tandem.
past the stairs.
No, tandem. So he would have the one closest to the front porch.
These two.
Thank you.
So this one would be gone, basically.
Yes, and so the two that are deeper into the driveway
Oh, you're saying they won't
now are
fit.
past the porch and past the stairs that are being relocated to the side.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right, so Patrick.
So
you
no
wanna-
matter how you look at it, you're going to be driving over the stairs either to get into the parking spaces in the front,
Mhm.
or if you move the stair to the parking spaces to the side.
Patrick,
I mean, I hate to help design things because that obviously is not what our role is, but
Right.
would it make more sense for Mr. Tang to do 1 space in the front yard and leave the 3 on the other side, knowing that the units
Wow.
that
no,
the
because he's got the stairs that he needs to relocate is the problem.
which stairs need to get relocated? I'm sorry.
Talking about these.
Oh, so these aren't where they are now, or they're
Yeah,
No, they're in the front of the building facing the street.
so that he's gonna
so
turn them.
well. So if again, this sort of jives with my concept that if the stairs stay 1 space in the front yard and 3 on the side, and then the 1-bedroom unit will get the front yard space, and then the 3-bedroom unit will have to negotiate the triple stack.
Thank you.
Perhaps that's the reasonable alternative that would make more sense than just trying to squeeze. I understand what Mr. McRae and others are trying to say is that there's no space to plant with 2 spaces
Right,
parallel to the road.
so
So
then go back to the landscape plan. So, Mr. Tang, what our regulations say is that you can park in the front yard if you screen the front yard. So what we would be looking for is screening at the front of the yard, and you have these very small things there. B, can you point where those are? Yeah, those really small things there. How tall are they and what are they? Because that's not going to screen. What we're looking for is something that really screens the cars from the street. That's what the regulation says. And that's not what this is doing
If I
here.
if I
So
understand from what
Patrick
was
is saying is if you only have 1 car here,
Thank you.
okay, but this is what we would be modifying this. So you would have to come back with it modified. You would only have 1 car here.
Thank you.
Then you make more space for planting where that front car is so that you can screen. And then where you have the steps right now, you leave them there so that the
Excellent.
cars that are parking on the side go freely. So you would need to revise your layout and your planting plan, and then come back to us. And Patrick says we're very busy at the next meeting, but we'll try to accommodate you.
Thank you.
And then the other thing, but you have to get the plans back into us and you have to get the sewer letter signed.
Sure.
Okay. All right. So then we're in good shape. So Patrick, I just added something to the next meeting. So tell some,
Well,
but
the
Mr.
regular,
Tang,
again, it's the special permit ones that we need extensions, not the site plan, so.
okie dokie. So Mr. Tang, if you can get that done, all you've got to do is take this drawing
Sure.
and change it so that where you have that front car, you add, you have more planting so that it's screened from the street.
Yes.
Leave the stairs, it'll save you money. Leave
Sure.
the stairs where you have them now. And that way the 3 cars can continue to park in the back and will, you know, then you've asked us to consider waiving the total parking. Is it 4.6 they need, Bianca? I'm not looking at it right now.
Yeah,
Yes.
4.6.
4.6.
4.6. So we would be rounding down, if you will. And then while you're at it this week, you might want to just make sure the building department's kind of okay. If you guys can send Mr. Tang to somebody to fix this issue with the legal egress, that it doesn't somehow affect his plans. Okay, and then you'll come back.
Beautiful. I want to thank you for all of your
Okay.
suggestions since you are the best mind in the town. So
All
I
right,
really
Mr.
appreciate that.
McRae heard that. He has Mr. McRae and Ms. Diger and Mr. LaRoe have the best minds in the town. Thank you, Mr. Tang.
Thank you. Salute.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, so now, you were okay, Mr. Basili? I think I could hear you before, right?
Yes,
Okie dokie.
everything's fine. Thank you.
Bye. All right, so now we are gonna open the public hearing. And representing the applicant, it's Chip, isn't it? Yes, there he is. There it is. It's a really long delay.
Tonight, right? It's like a 7
Yes.
Mississippi.
It's like you click somebody into the meeting and then you wait for it and you wait for it. Hello, Mr. Haslam. Our
evening,
next
Madam Chair.
application is Brunswick School for a final site plan and special permit to change the drop-off and pickup loop and increase the parking by 5 spaces for Brunswick's Early Childhood Center, to modify the faculty housing. And this is a switch in which buildings are being used for faculty housing. They're adding 2 additional units, renovating the buildings, and building a maintenance shed where there is presently a tent, all at 270 Lake Avenue in the RA2 zone. And with that, Mr. Haslam, if you would proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the commission. You left this matter open at your February 6th hearing for us to go to ARC, and we went to ARC the following night on the 7th. I'm pleased to report that ARC found favorably on all the issues involving the school, including the change out of windows, the circulation pattern, the landscaping, the photometrics, and the improvements to the maintenance area. We also submitted additional response to the beta comments with regard to signage and circulation, which we believe is responsive to their prior points. And based on the briefing yesterday, unless you have additional questions or comments, I think we request that you close the item and vote at your earliest convenience, and we hope that you will vote favorably for this modification.
I did have one comment for you. I listened to the meeting, and I thought it was valuable what the ARC asked you, because they were concerned about the historic preservation. And you said how much Brunswick values these buildings, that you were going to preserve all the historic buildings on the site. And the concern that Mr. Levy had raised about if you're not using buildings, you're going to let them go into disrepair. You addressed that straight on and said that is absolutely not the intent, that you would be working on how to upgrade these buildings and little by little restore them. And you said the same thing to us, but when I listened to it later, I thought it was great that you had reiterated that. I don't believe that, I don't remember that, and as I said yesterday, they didn't seem to have concerns about the pickup and drop off.
No, and
so-
actually, I did not attend that meeting. Tim Peck represented the school that evening,
Yeah.
but throughout the process, Brunswick has continually stated that we intend to maintain those buildings to the same standards of all other Brunswick buildings throughout the Brunswick community.
Mhm.
But in addition, I was pleased actually with the action agenda and the comments from ARC. It was very favorable and very complimentary, I
Mhm.
thought. So I thank them for that.
Does anybody on the commission have any open questions, any questions they'd like to raise on this application? Seeing no questions from the commission, does anybody object to closing this application at this time? Seeing
No.
no application, and just so everybody knows, Ms. Jenkins is seated, as I mentioned at the beginning of the meeting. Ms. Jenkins will be seated for Mr. Lowe, and she attended the previous time that we heard it, and she is fully up to date. Therefore, this application is closed. Thank you very much, Mr. Haslam.
Thank you all for the time spent on this.
Anytime you want to be as quick and efficient, you're welcome.
I'll try.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so moving on to our next application. Who's going to be presenting for the applicant, Mr. LaRoe? Will it be
I believe it's
Mr.
Mr. Chesney.
Tess? All right. All right, he's got his hand up. Oh, yeah, I just was clicking you and you, okay.
Madam Chair,
And-
I'm recused on this.
Yes, so's Mary. So our next application is Newfield Properties LLC for a final site plan and special permit to construct 31 units of assisted housing, with 7 of them being offered at 80% of area median income, deed restricted for 40 years at 25 and 27 Oak Ridge in the R6 zone. This parcel is 21,780 square feet. Mr. McRae, just to tell you again, Mary Jenkins is recused because she's co-chair of the Housing Trust, and Nick McRae has a business conflict, so he has recused himself. Mr. Wells will be seated on this application. And with that, Mr. Tessier, if you would commence.
Yes, thank you. Madam Chairman, for the record, John Tessie, representing the applicant, Newfield Properties LLC. Mr. Pecora as I believe you all know, and including Mr. LaRoe, has been active in responding to staff comments and making the original submissions to the commission. May want to promote him
Mr.
to-
Pecora, I will do
Yes.
that.
because I may defer to him. I'd also point out that our,
I don't think he's going to give you a choice, Mr. Tessie. He's the
well,
boss, isn't he?
well, there is an owner and then it's Mr. Pecora, but that's not necessarily the pecking order. You're right about
All
that.
right. All right. Okay, go ahead.
Mr.
Tessie.
DeAndrea, traffic engineer, I'm sorry, our civil
No.
engineer.
So I see John Canning and I see Mr. DeAndrea. We'll get them in a second.
Yeah, you
I'm
don't necessarily have to
gonna let
promote
you
them at this
start
time.
First.
Go ahead.
I just quickly, I believe there's
Sure.
enough issues to be worked on the drainage right now that it's better to let Mr. DeAndrea work on those with DPW on the drainage plan, because they raised a lot of questions, and it's just, I think rather than us get into it, I do have some questions for Mr. Canning, but they're quick.
That's
They're
fine. And also,
beyond
Mr.
what, there are a couple places where I just didn't quite follow his narrative. Go ahead, Mr.
No,
Tessie.
that's fine. He's here for that, but also he has already reached out to the, traffic division, per traffic division's suggestion to meet also with the Beta team and to work on their comments.
Okay,
So that would be a deferral. So obviously the commission's going to leave this hearing open
right.
irrespective of any and all issues, but we wanted to make sure, although we didn't have 4 members here
We have 4.
this evening.
We
I
have
know,
4
I'm
members.
sorry, that we only had 4 members. Thank you very much for the clarification. That we would proceed to also garner commission comments.
Right.
Some of which, of course, were raised, maybe all of which were raised during your staff briefing yesterday.
No, because I did a bunch more work.
Okay, so, well, I said
So,
wishful
I
thinking
think
maybe,
so.
but
No,
that's fine. That's
okay.
why we're here, to get everything
Yeah.
out on the
I
table.
think we all spend some more time on it today. Okay, so
Good, good.
do you want to go right to that?
We could,
Okay,
yes, certainly. I mean, for the
so
sake of the public, you gave a general description of the project, but that's fine with me, certainly.
so from a broader perspective,
Yes,
the key piece of feedback question that I have for you is as I read all the staff comments, sewer department, and the issues with Horse Neck, the concerns of DPW engineering regarding that the site floods, looking at the site plan and how extensive the build is and how the parking goes out beyond and goes underneath the patio, all of these things. It is, as Mr. Canning points out, it is denser than what we have, and 31 units on a third of an acre is dense. What I felt like is I would very much like to see the applicant make a greater effort for affordability if there's possibility of that. The state statutes in many ways, not only 8.2, but also 830G, ask commissions to advance housing affordability. And I look at the percent that you have affordable at 80% of AMI on a building that is 31 units, and the fact that you only have 7 80% of AMI bedrooms compared to what's there now. And I would really love to see you do something more than what is being offered, because I don't see enough inclusion here. And I know you sent us a legal opinion, but at the end of the day, the intent of the law is that we should be looking for affordability. And I don't feel like the balance has been struck. And I give you some
Yeah.
numbers. I'm gonna keep talking just for a sec. So right now, today, the site has 15 bedrooms,
Mhm.
right? In the units
Yes.
that are there. I'm assuming that those are somewhere around moderate income, or possibly even 80%. They're not going to be full market rate for a brand new gorgeous place, right? They're going to be somewhat more affordable. And in exchange, we're going to 7 bedrooms that are at 80% of AMI. So I feel like we're losing something in terms of accessibility for residents that can't afford full market. And my largest request of you is please reconsider this ratio, and could you give us more affordability? So I leave that with you guys. I would rather you not answer it now, that you talk to Mr. Pecora and whoever else
Well-
is partnering with you, and just say, this is what, if you read our affordable housing plan, if you, not as much in the POCD, but if you look at Mr. Tessie and Mr. Pecora, you were both participating in our affordable housing task force,
Yes.
which, by the way, we're about to start again. And I expect both of you. So,
Happy to.
because
Well,
you
let-
both
let
have the
me-
experience. So I would like to leave you with the question of, could you do more than what is being offered?
It's a variation on a constant theme, and I appreciate everything you said. It's a question of literally a priority of goals. What do I mean by that? Okay, the commission, at least commission members, including yourself, worked very hard to create the approval for and the establishment of the Housing Trust Fund without question. Its charge had been to work with, at least to my knowledge, has been to work with 830G set-aside applicants in a manner by which there is a representative percentage of affordable units where the town can benefit because we need the housing, and also benefit in terms of the perspective of 830G being imposed on the town. Okay, and by also, so number one, that doesn't go away, affordable housing component. But in conjunction with that, work with the developer to basically reduce bulk of the building. Reduce bulk and if you will, impact on perceived or otherwise in certain instances, impact on whether you want to call it the character of the neighborhood or the ambiance of the neighborhood, et cetera. That was the charge, and our client dutifully, if you will, did apply to the Housing Trust Fund for consideration in its funding program to garner the funding from the program and therefore be eligible for an assisted housing project. Be able to be put in a position where, yes, we can adjust that the issue of bulk and, if you will, impact, right? I mean, you've seen that on a number of applications since the Housing Trust Fund has been established.
But
this
here's the question. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, yeah, just to make the point. So overall, what you see here is what was worked on, right, with the Housing Trust Fund and endorsed by the trust fund in the sense that they issued a commitment letter for funding. Now, we have to get back to how I started this. It's a question of priorities. We have on this site now a number of units in older buildings where the rental is tempered, probably because of that, right? But none of them count toward the town's affordable unit count, right? For purposes of 830G.
Right.
And so you sit there and say, well, we don't care about 830G.
We want to do what's right.
Not they're going that far in this particular instance. I'm saying that, so if you look at it from that perspective, the town doesn't get any benefit from that, from the existing condition. And would the owner tie up those units and allow them to be affordable units for X number of years, whatever it is, qualify through a declaration? Of course, the owner would never do it because he just tied up the property and materially diminished the value of the property. So what does that all mean? It all means, unfortunately, except for the Greenwich communities, when a developer comes in or an owner comes in a town where land is so expensive, they look to create a project that will justify essentially either what they paid for or what it's worth in the open market or exceed it. And that's basically what we have here.
Okay, so here's
we've been put in a position where an 830G set-aside application has been tendered, if you will. It's a 4-story building, meets the requirements of set-aside provisions of the regulations of the state statute. And it was decided to work with the trust fund.
Right.
Sorry, right?
Yeah, go ahead, sorry.
To lower the numbers. I'm just trying to get it all on the table. I don't mean to ramble, but we had to go back and put things in some perspective here. So yes, I appreciate what you're saying, what you are recommending. I do want to, it's an aside, a little bit of a digression. If you look at the 6110 regulations, that in essence, it's a 20%. And if this were, it's not in the business zone, 6110 doesn't qualify. But I think it's more than worth mentioning that if we look at 6110, we would see that.
Let's not talk about 6110 right now, because guess what I'm going to recruit you for once again? So just park
revising
that
it
thought.
again.
Right.
It's another,
Okay. So
right. But I'm just
park
pointing
that
out, if you look
thought.
at it,
Let's
there's a
not
20%.
That's not
Well,
relevant, but that's not relevant.
Well, it's
to this
relevant from a
application.
perspective standpoint that the commission basically is looking for 20% affordable and/or moderate income units. So
Yes.
just to get that all out, as I said, it's a bit of a digression, but it's worth keeping in the back of one's mind. So
I think that was a different alternative. That is not what we're looking for. I
No, I'm
don't
not. I
think
said-
you can
I said it's-
translate it to this application.
it's just to
and-
give you perspective that 20% threshold, once you
I would
start to
not,
get
I
beyond
would
the
not
20.
make that leap, Mr. Tessie. If
No,
I,
I'm responding to your question because we anticipated your question. perhaps not exactly, but not that we read your mind, but
Well, you heard me say it yesterday.
yeah,
I
right.
would like you to
So, but
consider
it's something
higher
that-
affordability. 22.5% affordability on 31 units does not seem sufficient relative to the number of units you're doing and relative now, and here's the bind, and I understand it's you've got it's two issues. It's not a question of priorities. You are stretching what the infrastructure in this specific location can do because of the sewer and flooding issues. And frankly, I think,
but-
yeah, you should be able to address them both, but both are issues right now for this development. So hopefully
But-
you'll resolve those. And I'm still
Yeah.
talking, and I did let you talk. So 31
right.
units, you're stretching it here. And what I'm saying is with 31 units, with the extent to which you're building this lot, would you go back and consider a higher percentage of affordability to give us greater inclusion? And I understand that you may not want to do the bedrooms. I saw your argument about comparability. It's not how I've understood the DOH, and I've talked to them in past years, but I'm happy to have Patrick continue to explore that with our counsel. By the way, if you could send us a formal legal opinion, but we're happy to vet that with our counsel. But in the meantime, I'm just saying, working towards greater inclusion, can you consider doing more? And come back and tell us. I don't want you to answer it tonight, because all we're going to get
No,
into is
we have to discuss it tonight because at the end of the day, it comes down to the
only, I
economics.
can't, but that's the
But
problem.
may I make this
I
point?
can't, so let me just say this. I
Go ahead.
know that I can't address the economics. I know that the law doesn't allow me to do that. So I can't discuss it with you. All I can say is, can you go back and rethink it? Because I can't discuss those with you. So
We-
all I can do is ask the developer if there is a way they could do more. Because I know certain developers are able to do 20% in 10 units. And another developer is willing to do over 40% in 100 units. So how does all that shake out to, and I can't ask you on economics, I can't talk to you, but will you just go back and think about it? It's the only thing I'm saying. I would like to see greater inclusion.
I like here, the economics.
Can't
the
discuss
hard-
it.
the
You know, by
It's not a
law,
question of you, it's not, I'm not asking you to discuss it. What I was going to say is the housing, just understand, and you know, certainly Mary's here, but Mary knows because she's
well,
on the
Mary's
affordable housing.
recused. Mary's recused.
I
She's on-
understand that. All
she
I'm
is
pointing
not
out to
here.
you. Okay, I didn't know if she was here or not, listening.
No, she's
But my
not
point I
here.
was making that the housing trust fund gets very much, so you don't have to, and you're right, it's not a consideration. They get very much into the economics.
No can do.
It's not a no can do, that's what they do. Just want to let
Right.
you know. So the housing trust fund, that's every application based on economics
Mhm.
at the end of the day. They just do. And so one of the things they want to make sure of is that they're not approving something that turns out to be basically unjust in terms of the owner of the property getting a benefit, an economic benefit from working with the trust. And I think that should be stated. and
Nobody's
I just
asking you to do something
So,
unjust.
what
Nobody's
I'm saying to you is
demanding it.
this.
I'm just saying, will you go back and consider it? And you're arguing it rather than go back and consider.
No,
it. I'm
I
saying,
know,
go
I'm
back
giving
and
you
think about it.
background, I'm giving you background, I'm not arguing anything, background information, but I do have, here's the point, I'm trying to work with you in my own cute way. Okay? So what I'm trying to say is, okay,
Not the cutest, okay.
let's put all, and this gets back to the point, this gets very much back to my original point. It's a question of priorities. Okay, so the point I'm making, you'd like us to consider an addition, in a more affordable units. Does that mean you're willing to be flexible? Because it's all about the commission making a decision, particularly when we're talking about an assisted housing application. So if you were to say, okay,
Very
if you're giving,
difficult. You didn't hear what I said then. It's very
No.
difficult to be flexible when I'm seeing that you are also limited by sewer and drainage
I'm not talking
issues.
about that. I'm not talking about that aspect, Madam Chair. What I'm talking about is this aspect.
You want more units in total so you can increase the affordability. And I'm saying you may have a problem doing more units because you've got the sewer and drainage issue.
I
you want me
didn't
to
say that. That's not what I was saying, actually.
Okay, go ahead.
Is that what I'm
Say
saying?
what you were going to say.
Okay, what I was going to say is that we look at our priorities. The trust fund's priority, at the end of the day, is to make sure that they can work with someone, that they can get less bulk, and they can get as many units, affordable units, as they possibly can in a project, and preserve a project at the end of the day so that the town can benefit from those affordable units.
Mm,
I think we're all on that same page.
right.
Or we may be in top and maybe the bottom of the page, but we're on the same page. So we want to get to the middle. So what I'm saying to you is, and this is what you see in this application, is that, well, to get that number of units, in our case, it's the 7 of the 31, it's, 22%, right? See, the town would like to see a higher. Well, is the town willing to go along with the concept, again, to get more affordable units that we have, that right now every time we think about going to a mix, basically a proportionate share or some degree of more, in this case, 2-bedroom units. Every time we do that, make an affordable unit, a two-bedroom unit, right? There's a cost factor in doing that because you have to lose something from a market unit, or you have to increase size.
Oh,
So
but I answered
if we
the
can get to the
question for
point,
you.
well, let me,
You can't
roundabout.
increase size right now unless you address your sewer limitations and your drainage problems. That's, I mean, I don't know how many times you want me to say that. You are
no,
between
you don't have to say it. But I'm pointing
two
out to you,
choices. It's not my priorities that are important here. You have to look at how you're going to address the drainage, how you're going to address the sewer, what they want for downstream improvements. I don't know those.
we're
And
gonna know a lot more after we have our discussions.
and then
Bree,
once
I'm not
you know
talking
all
about
that,
that.
we
I'm
just
just
said
getting
more
to the point of
units.
saying, are you gonna sit, when I say, okay, done, I'm trying to say, how much can we all think out of the box to accomplish the goal you suggested? That's all I'm saying, okay? And
And
not
you have
increase
two
bulk.
limiting factors, exactly, and you've got two limiting factors you
So-
need to address. And if you can address those limiting factors, I mean, that's the big question. Now, I can tell you that
We can put those, well, Margarita, we can put those aside because we have to adjust those issues with your town
and then I'll give
departments.
you, it bothers me enormously. You know, it always does. The environmental justice issue always bothers me that there's so little outdoor area. So I'm seeing such a tight development, and what should give kids some green space, there's a little patio. It's sitting on top of a parking garage, and that's pretty much it. So you have low affordability, you have no outside space, and you're basically building to the edges. And then I'm sure somebody else will raise a few of the other concerns. I don't want to hog but I'm just asking you guys, don't argue
I
with me
know,
now.
but I've got to get to a point.
You can lay the record later. For now,
I'm
you
not
don't
talking
have
about a
enough.
record. What I'm
Yeah,
trying
you
to
are.
get to, I'm trying to get to this point, the parameters for that consideration. In
I
other words,
can't set them for you. You have to make that. No.
We're having this discussion. I get it. We are going to look at it in good faith. But I'm saying to you, it's part and parcel of what you're asking for, that we also create the mix of units in terms of 1 and 2 bedrooms that was suggested.
No, I think
Or are we
I
going to
would
be able to
leave
have
them,
some flexibility on that
come in with
aspect of it
something.
to increase units?
Okay, so what you want to do is keep the affordables at 1 bedroom and the markets at 2 bedroom plus 1 bedroom, which is what you've got now, and potentially leave it that way. Anything I say now would be predetermination, and you know I can't.
No, it's not a predetermination, and I'm not asking you to tell us what
But
you
what
want.
I
I'm
would
telling you
say
whether or
to
not
you-
on this issue, you want us to, in good faith, look at how we could get more affordable units. So I think it's fair to say, I've raised the point that I think this commission has discretion. There's no hard and fast law that says that units, and that units have to be proportionalized in terms of number of bedrooms. We
There's
totally
pretty-
accept we totally accept the quality issue. We totally accept that. Okay,
There's
so that's not an
actually-
issue.
There is, I saw some case law go back and forth, on an unrelated application over the weekend, but let's just, I am leaving it to you guys to decide what would increase affordability. And if I would suggest, what we always tell people is don't bother changing any of the site plans. Just come in and talk to us. You don't even have to pay a lawyer, Mr. Pecora. Just come in and say.
Why do you
"Hey,
say that? You never say that to another lawyer. You're always, you say it all the time.
No, I said
I
it.
thought you liked to hear from me.
Okay, so come in and just say to us without changing any site plans, hey, this is the mix, this is how we're thinking of doing it. Would the commission react? Because if all 5 of us can react, it is helpful. I am not going to be the one who reacts. Mr. Pecora. And then I'm going to let Mr. Levy talk.
So I'm just gonna say it in my words.
Okay.
P and Z Commission worked really hard with the Affordable Housing Trust to set it up. They created parameters.
Mhm,
You agreed on the parameters.
mhm,
They agreed on the parameters.
mhm.
There's a minimum requirement of 20% that have to be affordable to even work with the Affordable Housing Trust.
That's not written anywhere because I wrote as Mr. Tessie knows, I wrote those documents and I did not put that in any of the language. I'm telling you
Okay,
right now.
so then we get to what Mr. Tessie is trying to get at is if they are not required to keep a minimum of 20%, then you would be willing to go below that.
No,
Okay,
No,
so
I'm
then
trying to say that.
all we're doing is trying
20%
to
is
create,
not documented. That's all
Margarita,
I'm saying.
I mean, Miss Albin, we're
Good, I
trying,
like it better than.
I
it was
apologize.
Yeah.
We're trying to understand the rules, the game that we're playing in order to get you what you want.
And the problem is we're all finding our way right now. We are
Okay,
all trying to find a way
not
to
a
build
problem, not a problem.
greater inclusion in this town while preserving the architectural scale of the community. I know you've got limitations on infrastructure in this site.
Commissioner
you-
Albin,
You have to balance them and come back and say, here's what I'm thinking. We're all finding our way on this. The trust was something, the first time when we proposed the trust, you're going to get tired of the lecture from me, was 1988. And it was turned down and we came back and we did it. So now we've got it and we're finding our way. So just want you to go off and think
I-
about it. Next, Mr. Levy and then Mr. Yeski. There's
I'm
a
not
reason,
You're not finished
done?
really. So,
Okay. But I think
Uh,
you said what you were going to say.
yeah, well, you're also adding a mix in here of sewer requirements and flooding. We're not worried about flooding.
Okay.
And we're also
that's
not
good.
worried, I'm not finished. And we're also not worried about sewer.
Good.
We complied with the sewer letter. We are fully aware that the sewer system and the piping can handle our project, no matter how big it is, provided we do what the sewer department requires for the sewer
Okay.
permit. So
And-
that's so those both,
But I don't know that. That's not in my materials. So I don't know that till you say it. Now you've said it, then you're going to think about those things have not been shared with me. I don't know that till
the sewer
we have
letter
it.
states it. The sewer letter
Mm.
says that if you approve it, we'll work with them, provided they're willing to do off-site work.
Yeah,
we're
and which will be
recognizing that.
defined later. And I
We're-
don't, yeah.
We're recognizing that.
Mhm.
And we are fully aware of what we can do and can't do as it relates to finances. You can't talk about finances, but the reality is finances matter.
Right, of
So
course.
we went in, the owners came to me and they wanted to build a 5-story building. I convinced them not to even go there and just do a 4-story building because that was what was previously approved in prior 830G projects. So after analyzing what they wanted to do, I convinced them to work with the Affordable Housing Trust and reduce it to 3 stories, which is in keeping with the neighborhood because there are about 5 or 6 buildings that are 3 stories or more on the street. Okay, so we squeezed as many affordable units as we could in that three-story building to make a viable project and comply with the Affordable Housing Trust. And that's what we prepared. You know, we could go back and do an 830G set aside, not a problem. We're totally comfortable with that too. And we would comply with the sewer requirements. So we're not afraid to do that either. So all Mr. Tessie's trying to do is understand the rules that we're allowed to
And
work
what I'm
within.
saying to you is we have to find our way as a group. We have to find our way. It's why the Affordable Housing Task Force includes developers. We're finding our way to create greater inclusion while keeping the scale, the architectural scale of the town. And it is, we are alone in the state really trying to work on that. It's very creative. We're starting to hear from people who are saying, wow, you guys are really trying to find some answers, but we don't know all the answers. We just know we want to do greater inclusion and better within our architectural scale. Can I let other people talk yet? Yes, okay. Mr. Levy's taken down his hand, so I'm going to let Mr. Yeski go, and then Mr. Levy, you can raise your hand again.
Yeah, just to expand the topic, but don't get into the number of units. I don't know who this gets addressed to, but since you're doing affordable in all the one bedrooms, are they going to be grouped up in one part of the project? And are they identical in terms of fit and finish, the fixtures in these units? Is there a segregation of the quality of the different units?
All units are built of the same quality, with the same materials, with the same appliances, with same lighting. Everything is the same. The one bedrooms are all outlined on all 3 stories. They're all on the plan. They're not grouped. They're intermingled with the 2 bedrooms, and they're laid out on all 3 of the floors.
Right. Are all your projects identical in terms of the quality of the units?
I have a feeling that this project is going to be better quality than the projects that we have been building. And the quality that we've been building is of higher quality than the neighborhood. So this is going to be a very high-end community.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Levy? Oh, you're flapping to turn on your lights. That's what happens to you for being energy efficient and responsible.
We're trying in every aspect of our life.
Mr. Levy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm scratching my head to understand how this is good for the town. I see a lot of problems here that more I go into the details, discuss this with others, it just seems like there are other things that are uncovered that are problematic. I think that one of the things is that the traffic needs to be flushed out a little bit more. I think the assumptions are pretty vague, and there's no difference made to whether you go north or south from this project. So I'm looking forward to getting much more data on the traffic patterns. I certainly concur with Madam Chair, and other things that need to be fleshed out more is the walls that encompass the site. I'd love to understand that better from you, and how that works with the construction. I think that there's the walls retaining walls are pretty significant in some parts, and I'd like to understand the impacts of that. The way that it addresses the neighborhood seems to be more of a thumb your nose than to try to be part of the neighborhood. And I think that it would be nice if you would have a dialogue with your neighbors and give us some kind of feeling that there's an understanding of what your intent is and how you are approaching this neighborhood, because it doesn't seem to fit in at all. And we'd love to understand if you could, next time you come in, show us that there's a real interest in being site specific here and doing something which speaks to the neighborhood. Otherwise, this project could be anywhere USA, and that's not what we like to see in Greenwich. And we are, as a commission, wanting to protect our neighborhoods, and we expect that we can have a nice, healthy debate, and we hope that you will be interested in coming to meet terms on some of these issues, because they are significant. And our job is to try to make this application and others be respectful to our town.
Okay, so you had a concern about the retaining walls, Mr. Levy, the height of the retaining, there's the walls that,
Yes.
okay. Mr. Wells.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Go ahead. So I had two questions. I mentioned them yesterday, but the one has to do with page 2 of the Greenwich Properties letter dated December 15th. Maybe my lack of knowledge, but on the second page it says residential community comprises rental units. However, the applicant reserves any and all rights to convert these rental units within the residential community from presently proposed rental to for sale community, thereby converting the ownership component of the residential use from rental to ownership through sale. Could you walk me through the mechanics? I mean, are you thinking about doing this like halfway through a rental period, or would you make this, or would you have to make this decision before you either rent or sell the property?
So very, very interesting you mentioned that, because that was a conversation John Tessie and I had when I first prepared the affordability plan. So the affordability plan as written is no different than prior affordability plans. We reserve the right to change the program from a rental project, which is our intent, to a sale project if we choose to make them condos. That's we're only putting that in writing for the record. We don't have to put it in writing for the record, because as of law, we can, and John could get into this a little, but we have the right to condo a project at any time. So it really doesn't matter whether I put it in writing or not, but the intent is that this is a rental project, just like our other projects.
Okay, thank you. And from your answer, I'm assuming you decide before you start to rent or to sell. This is a front end decision. You don't do it, 20 years into the rental period, right? Because I don't know how mechanically you could do that.
Yeah, you can. You could. I mean, John could get into the mechanics of it. Go ahead, John. I'm sorry.
No, right.
That's okay. That's okay.
But the answer is, just very quickly, Mr. Wells, is that there's actually a state law allowing for conversion of multifamily, irrespective of whether it's affordable as an affordable overlay or not. So it could happen anytime. It has happened that way, affordable and non-affordable projects over the years. Anyway, leave it at that.
So basically, affordable unit rental would become affordable unit for sale.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Second question is, and you mentioned in your energy narrative, and thank you for that. On your on page 21 of your presentation, you show a scheme of the roof, which has solar panels. And I just wonder if you could comment how likely it is for you to have solar panels on the roof. And if you do, where are you going to put the mechanicals, the air conditioning units and so on?
I think the mechanicals, if you look on the plan, I think they're all located within the units. So they're all within the units. I think it's all electric heat pumps, so it's all right there.
Okay.
On the balconies, I think there's closets in the balconies.
But on the solar panels, what are your considerations? Because you know, you're not committing to it. I know it's early stages, but what are your considerations whether you go with solar panels or not? I mean,
I would
be thrilled if you did.
I would highly recommend to the owner that he goes solar panels to handle all common electric. Because there's no way you have enough solar panels to handle the tenants' spaces. And if you have enough solar panel space to do tenant spaces, this project actually works out nicely because provided you agree with all the 1 bedrooms being affordable, because then you would give that electric solar usage for the affordable units.
Okay. Follow-up question, sorry, and then I'll be quiet, Madam Chair.
No.
In a previous project, Mr. Pecora, you indicated that in this temperate zone 5A, for heat pumps, you needed to add another coil, which made it more expensive and uneconomic. Is this like a higher quality project, if you will, so that having that extra coil makes economic sense? So that's where you're going with a heat pump here as opposed to combined.
Yeah, this is
gas
more.
furnace.
This is more of an apartment building type construction, whereas our other projects are more like homes. And the architect on this project is designing it as he is. You know, I'm not in control of that, and like I said, the higher quality I think will make up for that. Aspect of it. And if they have to add supplemental electric, they will.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wells. So back to the 1 bedroom, the bedroom mix, you know, Mr. Tessie, you wrote that we were looking at set aside and then that's different from assisted and that the case law is not clear in your mind about comparable size. We will get a legal opinion on that, and Patrick will be able to discuss that with you. We may not share the opinion, but I think he can tell you where we come out on whether one could have all the affordables be smaller and not have the bedrooms. We do know, and so does Mr. Pecora, that the wait list that Greenwich Communities can accommodate is for 3 bedrooms. But we also know that there's a lot of people graduating from school who can't find places to live near their work everywhere in the US. So the question is, having no one in the state really do an in-depth study of where the greatest need is for affordable housing, this is again where everybody's feeling their way on how many bedrooms should we be providing. And we know what the wait list is at Greenwich Communities, but do we know what the demand is? Not really, not the overall demand, then no one's really studying that. So but we'll get the legal opinion, which is what matters. As to your parking, I think you're going to straighten out whether it's 46 plus 2 or whatever, you know, that. But there was something I noticed in the write-up. You've got those 11 spaces that you're providing for a commercial use. For commercial uses, one is for enterprises, and the other one just says outside businesses are parking there. Why are you both looking at me like
Yeah,
I'm nuts?
so Enterprise Rental Car Company, which I think is located on Livingston.
Yep, I know where they are.
Rents, I think, 10 spaces or 11 spaces from Newfield Properties. And when this project is gone, for allowing them to park there, they will figure out their own parking. The owner is not affiliated with Enterprise Rental Company, Car Company, and they obviously will need to comply with their own regulation and parking issues and either park on their own site or figure it out.
Okay, so Enterprise now becomes a place looking for where to park, a business that has been using the parking and now will lose that. Do they have any kind of written agreement?
No, it's a month-to-month rental agreement, basically. There's no written agreement. They just park on site. Now, we're all assuming that they need the parking. That's an assumption. You know, they may not want to, you know, do what the car companies do on the post road and just pack their lots with cars, and it's a lot easier for them just to put unused rental cars off site. Who
Now,
knows?
Enterprise was one user, and I'm trying to look up where I saw in the staff report you have, or maybe it was in your materials. There is
Yeah, I
another.
I didn't mention the Enterprise rental car company because I didn't know which company was doing it. So I said
Okay,
business.
I saw Enterprise, and then I saw somewhere else it says, and that there's another, it said there's another outsider that is using spaces, and that it's a total of 11 spaces. So you will get rid of those people and leave them adrift.
Okay.
Not sure I would phrase it that way.
All right, but
They
that's
could leave of their own, they could also leave of their own volition in any event. It's
okay.
just the month-to-month tenants.
Yeah, I can't find where I saw it. I'm trying to catch up. Oh, it says there are 4 parking spaces that are rented and utilized by an outside company. So there's 7 spaces that are used by Enterprise and 4 that are used by another outside company. So both of those are going away. Mr. Canning looks up the ITE. He doesn't take a credit for the fact that there's bus nearby, and he says you only need 41 spaces. Okay, and then the rest I probably need to ask Mr. Canning,
There's
right?
only one company, just so you know. It's Enterprise Rental Car Company. I didn't know that until yesterday, or the other,
Okay.
or until Friday.
Okay, it's in my material. It has that there are 2 different one. The way it reads is that there are 2 different ones. So that was a question, and just that they are not going to be looking to have an agreement in the future.
No.
All right. Hi, Mr. Canning. I'm going to ask him a couple of questions.
Madam Chair, good evening, members. Sorry.
So, Mr. Canning, when you talk about your traffic study, I think it confused Beta as well. Did you do traffic counts, or did you look at turning counts into the driveway? It was not clear the way you wrote it, whether you had done actual traffic counts on the roads.
So we did traffic counts at the intersections of US Route 1, West Putnam Avenue with Oak Ridge Street, and Oak Ridge Street with Old Field Point Road. That I am certain of. And whether we counted the actual driveways, I don't believe so.
I thought it said the
we
opposite.
We did. I have
Yeah.
Oak Ridge side driveways.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, you have the driveways. You did do the driveways.
Yep.
Okay, so I hate it when I can't find what I was going to ask you. So it was confusing to me that okay, so you did do the counts. That's what I was you've done traffic counts, because Beta asked you the same question. I said, yeah, I know. The way the sentence is written, it doesn't sound like it. Now, simple question for you, Mr. Canning, and I know I always do these. In the morning, you go from, in the AM peak, you go from 9 to 12 cars.
Yeah.
Even though you're going from a total of 6 units.
Yeah.
To 31 units.
Yeah.
6 units with 15 bedrooms versus 31 units with 54 bedrooms only makes your traffic count go from 9 to 12.
So there's a couple of aspects to that. First of all, the existing counts of the driveways would also have taken into account in addition to the activity of the 6 units, whatever activity was associated with the rented spaces there. So that's how we got the existing numbers. And then the build numbers, we use the ITE for the type of development. It's a multifamily building as opposed to kind of a single family home that's converted to 3 units.
So you're not really giving us I'm saying this over and over again this week, apples and apples comparison, because in your 9-unit base, you've got 6 units generating 9 trips in the peak hour. And you're saying that's because it's not really 6 units, it's 6 units plus the commercial uses, but that's not clear when you write it up.
So I will have to make that clear, but that is the case.
And if you could give it so we could see the increase, then what was funny, and then you're going to tell me it's the same thing, in the afternoon in the peak hour, it goes from 6 to 16, build versus existing versus build.
Correct. So we did the same thing in the afternoon as we did in the morning, which is existing counts for the existing property, and then we use the ITE for what is proposed, because that's not there.
So the ratios are odd. Okay. It doesn't make sense to me that you have a 30% increase in the morning and a 50, no, it's more than that, from 6 to 16, and you almost triple the volume in the afternoon peak.
So there shouldn't necessarily be a fixed ratio between the morning and the afternoon. I'll give you an example. If I compared a retail trip generation rate for a 1,000-foot store versus residential for 10 residential units in the morning and in the afternoon, they'd have different ratios because the residential is fairly consistent morning and afternoon, but the retail is not. It's not busy in the morning, and it is busy in the afternoon. So it's the same with this property. It's partly residential, but it's partly commercial. So it can be busier. I don't know what it is or what they're doing, but apparently, it's busier in one period than the other. So
yeah, I didn't have a handle on that, and it just bothered me that the numbers looked off sync with each other.
Yep.
So those were my 3 main questions for you. I did see, of course, that you have that there's no change in the LOS in the existing versus the build, and that you're saying it is a minimal impact. But again, you are using these 11 spaces, and okay, it's a little confusing. Okay. Anything else from the commission? I did wonder about planting. I think, Peter, if you got a chance, Levy, if you got a chance to look at this, I was struggling with where, I had one more question for you guys, of where the parking goes underneath the patios. So the parking extends out beneath that patio and almost to the property line. Okay.
No different than the approval of 62 Mason Street.
Exactly the one I was thinking about, and also Sheep Hill. And
Not aware of that project.
Okay, but Sheep Hill, I'm mentioning Sheep Hill to you because Sheep Hill eventually could not be built for that reason.
Sheep Hill couldn't be built because of the finances, not because
Okay,
of the
we were told that
ability.
the finances were driven by the fact
Yeah.
that there was that much excavation for that underground parking and that it went so
Yeah.
far. But you've also got the issue of, and you're going to deal with this with DPW, not us, when you're underground and you're flooding in that area to begin with, how are you going to manage that? And I'm sure you're ahead of it, and I'll let you guys get with DPW engineering and figure that out, but it made my flags go up. That retaining wall was a concern. Arn asked you his questions. Dennis, did you have anything more? All right, I'm going to turn then to the public. And maybe you will hear about the same things. I don't know. Does anybody from the public wish to comment on this application? Please raise your virtual hand. There's nobody. Anybody from the public wish to comment on the application at Oak Ridge? Please raise your virtual hand. Nobody wishes to comment. You guys got a short evening tonight. All right.
Wow.
So, wow. So, our guidance is there. I think the thing to do is for you guys to talk to Patrick after he's gotten further with the legal opinion, and he can feel us out. And just remembering that the commission was fundamental in establishing the trust. And so we do want it to work, but at the same time, we're looking for how do we advance inclusion in our town while preserving our architectural scale, and how do we, and is this, how close can we get to that? And Mr. Pecora, you have a lot of experience already in accomplishing that. So I'll let you think about that. Okay, so with that, I'll let you guys go unless Mr. Tessie, you want to say something else to us?
No, I do not. I
All right.
guess I'll see you later.
See you later. All right, thank you very much.
Everybody, bye-bye.
Thank you all.
So did you move out, Mr. Canning, or did he move himself out?
He got the heck out of here.
So he has to leave the meeting to do that.
Well, yeah, if they drop out immediately, right?
Okay, our next step, our next application, is that gonna be, who's representing the guys, Rachel?
No, Jerry,
No, it's
I'm sorry?
22 Jerry is Ida from Anna
Um,
Kirby.
If you could
raise your
if
hand.
you can, yeah, would you raise your hand for the next application? We're ready for 22 Jerry Street.
Yeah.
Hello,
Can you hear me?
Yes, hi, can you
hi.
rename her, Bianca?
Yeah.
Hello.
Hi.
So our next application is Stephen and Tieshang Lam for a final site plan and special permit to construct a permeable driveway with 2 parking spaces, removal of hardscape and installation of landscaping on a 5,605 square foot property located at 22 Jerry Street. And that's it. Seated on this application again is we have, again, we go back to Ms. Jenkins seated for Mr. Lowe on the last one. All right. Okay, thank you very much. So, Ms. Giebbi, if you've been before us one other
Yes.
time.
This is
and
this is the third time actually.
yeah. All right, so let's see if we can work on this. Do you want to just update us on what you've done and?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. First of all, good evening, everybody. And I am Ida Ghabi, civil engineer from Annaman Kirby, representing the applicant. There is one building containing 2 units on this property, 1 bedroom each, without any driveway access or parking inside. And the application is for the special permit to park in the front yard with adequate screening according to the landscaping plan prepared by Nicholas Puder. I have updated the site plan application showing the number of units correctly this time. And we also reached out to Highway Department, but they said they're not going to comment on it unless we get the P&Z approval. We got some comments back from Conservation, and that's why Nicholas Puder revised his landscaping plan, and we resubmitted the plan today to Bianca. And he also prepared a point-to-point answer for the Conservation comments. We also got some comments from DPW, which we reviewed, and we're going to address all of them. And the site distances are not done yet because that's DPW and highway review. And if you look at the DPW comments, Juan Paredes, the town engineer, indicates that there is no town ordinance precluding the applicant from adding a driveway in his comments dated February 15, 2024. The town's ordinance specifies no parking on the south side from Saint Rock Avenue westerly to Dead End, and curb parking on the north side also appears to be unregulated. No marked or metered parking or no specific governing ordinance. So with that being said, I also updated my project narrative showing some of the neighborhood characteristics, so you would have a better idea of how our proposed application is consistent with the character of the neighborhood.
So,
And
okay, sorry, go ahead.
no,
I
go
didn't
ahead.
mean to interrupt.
I was gonna
No.
say I'm ready to answer any questions.
Okay, so I'm going to jump in with something that was confusing me yesterday and still today. In the landscape plans, it shows your driveway width as being 19 feet. That
Yes.
plus the 5-inch flares, 5-foot flares,
But
gives you a total of 29 feet that you're taking from the street parking, which is going to mean that you're taking, help my math, you're out 2.5 spaces. Did I do that
well,
right?
no, so that's, yeah, I saw that comment also, but so we have a 9 feet driveway at the property line, but at the curb side, it changes to 13.4 feet. And that's what's
Okay.
showing
Wait, so
in all
where
our-
is it? So at the street,
Mhm.
driveway cut is 9 feet wide?
No, at the curb cut and the right of way, it is 13.3.
Okay, go to the landscape plan that you shared with us today that's in color, I think, Bianca. Or Patrick,
It's the same thing, black and white color, doesn't really matter.
Bianca, the turning
Yeah,
movements has the dimensions. It's the only one I could find. So, but Marguerite's looking for today's color.
Okay,
plan.
so
Yeah, I'll bring up both. Hold on.
So, Ms. Gaby, so the problem that I was having yesterday was that Parking Services was thinking that you add this driveway cut and they lose 3 spaces on the street. And it seemed an unreasonable balance that you lose 3 spaces on the street. Oh, you got to zoom in then, so it's legible. All right. That is not the one that has it. There's one that has 19. And it's like right here, it has 19. Oh, there it is, 19.
No.
Thank you.
No, that's the deed.
Yeah, that's the meets
Got
and
it.
bounds of the property. So,
All right.
Miss Gelby, this is sorry, this is Pat Leroux.
Hi,
The turning movement one is the helpful one here.
Is the one that's helpful. Okay.
Right. So this is a 9-foot asphalt driveway in the property, and then at the property line, if you could point to the property line in the street, where the curb line. So that distance
Let me just
there.
Wait.
let me just say that
Let her-
also this is
did
not
he
an
answer-
asphalt. Yeah.
Did he?
Oh, I'm
answer-
sorry. I apologize. You're right.
Yeah.
So the distance where the curb meets the road is 15 or change. Is that what I understand?
No, 13.4.
13. Thank you.
All
Okay.
right. So that puts you with the flares, that puts you at 23.5 feet, which means you're
No.
only-
This is with
No,
the flares.
no,
Madam
no.
Chair.
Oh, so you're
Yeah.
only taking up 1 space.
Exactly. And
yeah.
and to that point, today I told Bianca I take no risk. I prepared a GIS plan for you that is in an email I just attached. I don't know if Bianca could see it. It was like very late. I use the GIS data for the whole street, and from the dead end up to our property, I placed 1 parking spaces next to each other. The parallel parking space code is 10 by 20 feet. So you can see 10 by 20 feet rectangles stacking up all the way to the front of our property. I don't know if you have that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
So-
see, yeah.
The question where I was stuck yesterday was we were losing a parking space and we don't know what the future development of this neighborhood is, and we shouldn't give up a street parking space. But if you're actually adding, you're plus a space for the neighborhood now because you're putting 2 on site and you're only taking 1 from the street. That's a lot
Exactly.
better for development. Okay.
Exactly.
All right.
Yeah, and you can see in here also in the Jerry Street, you see some rectangles stacking up next to each other. I'm showing that, and there's a call out that says 10 feet by 20 feet parallel parking. So
Yeah.
they are like the imaginary parking space because there is no marked or metered parking space, but they're like imaginary parking spaces stack up next to each other. So you can see we're definitely not losing 3 parking spaces as mentioned by police chief or parking services.
Good.
Yeah, because I was like, what was the study behind that assumption?
Well,
I think they were given a generic size for a driveway.
Yeah.
12-foot driveway, 5-foot flare, those things. So that you're without them knowing, your width of your driveway. I think they were assuming that it was going to be somewhere in the range of 26, 27 feet that were going to get lost here. So
yeah. Okay. So that one is definitely answered, and I'm here to answer any other questions you have.
Ms. Jenkins has her hand up.
Yeah, actually, this is almost more a question for Patrick. I've heard a lot about the street parking, but the street's not marked. There's no signage that says only parking on one side of the street. And every time I've gone down the street, they're parking on both sides of the street.
Right.
Does this affect the analysis of parking generally? I mean, the GIS that was provided right now is very helpful, but the street itself is not parked the way parking thinks it's parked. There are people parking on both sides of the street. There are a lot of driveways, there are a lot of front yard parking. So it's a short street. It's not marked. It's not marked one side only, no parking on the side of the street. So I'm just trying to analyze the overall parking situation, even though I think the answer is for purposes of this property, it looks like it works, but.
So if people are parking illegally, we can't really address for, we can't take credit for it, but we also can't adjust for the decisions that we're making on the site here. However, I believe that the north side, which is this side of the street, is the side you can park on. And what Ms. Gelby did and on top of showing the width of the driveway, she showed from the dead end going north how those parking spots would lay, so that I think I'm gonna assume that she meant that we're not landing this driveway in between 2 parking spaces just by the rhythm of the 20 foot, 20 foot, 20 foot.
Okay.
So it seems to be that this driveway happens to just land perfectly in that dimension of that 20-foot parking space that would be in front of that lot now. It's not an overly large driveway. So I think Madam Chair said this already. It seems to be a net increase of parking from the legally allowed parking on that side of the street. So I think the commission could consider this to be a net gain in parking for the neighborhood. I thought there was a sign that said no parking at the corner of Jerry and St. Roch's, but I will, if you've been there more recent,
No, people, there is, somebody else told me there's a sign there, but I'll tell you, I want to know why.
I know people do.
I want to know why they
but yeah.
enforce it. In my neighborhood, you park on the wrong side of the street and in a nanosecond parking services comes by and gives you a ticket.
Well, that's because you live there, but that's the difference.
All right. So
thank you, Patrick. That's very helpful. I appreciate it.
So that's my, I'm just sort of quickly summarizing, I should say, what I'm hearing today. And again, and thank you, Ida, for mentioning that it's 10 by 20 is sort of the standard gold standard for on-street parking.
Okay.
So that width of the driveway really will determine how many spaces would be lost, even if it's not striped.
Okay, thank you, Patrick.
And when you corrected the bedroom count, how are we citing it now, the correct bedroom count?
I wrote in my site plan application, 1 bedroom, I wrote 2 units, and then in the number of bedrooms, I wrote 1 bedroom each unit. Because I didn't know if I should write 2 or just to avoid confusion.
No, you should tell the truth. That was the idea.
Yeah, it is the truth.
Okay,
So,
so each
yes,
bedroom, so each unit is one bedroom.
yes.
Okay,
So
okay.
then I should write 2 in the number of bedrooms. I should write 2.
Yes, it says units 2, bedrooms 2.
Okay.
But that's okay. That's what, you got to keep us busy. I mean, what would? Okay, so at present you have 2 units with,
Two on this.
okay. Okay, all right, anything else from the commission? What about the landscaping and is everybody happy with, you want to throw it back up, the landscaping plan? Is everybody happy with the screening?
There's a fence to the south
Right,
on street, on street, right behind the property line. They've got yews. And then there's more azaleas, et cetera, towards the thing, one arborvitae, and a new pin oak in the backyard, which is great.
Yeah, there is one pin oak in the backyard, and the daylilies have been replaced with black-eyed Susan, according to conservation comments. But we did not change the arborvitae to the dogwood because landscape told me that the full sun and the shallow soil depth is not a good microclimate for dogwood, and the plant would just die.
Mhm.
So arborvitae is a better choice.
oh,
Okay, and then all of that patio in the front yard gets all removed. It's just the short walk between the driveway and the steps. And all of that concrete patio, I understand, is actually being removed and
It's
planted with
removed.
something. Okay.
so,
Yeah.
we're
Now,
not crazy about the arborvitae. Could we leave it that you're gonna work that out with Bianca? And she will make the decision if you could replace the arborvitae with something that's more environmentally positive?
Okay,
So
I can.
where are the dogwoods on this plan? Maybe I'm just missing the.
She took them out. It's arborvitae, it's.
No, conservation suggested replacing the arborvitae with dogwoods, but she's stating that it's not a good microclimate for them, so they're maintaining arborvitae.
Well, the
So
problem
the
is,
yews, I'm seeing the yews on the front, on the
Right.
street side.
and there's no,
there's-
and then there's arborvitaes because there are no dogwoods.
So yeah, there's a one, the
Okay.
big green circle right inside the street. On the
Oh,
plan
that's the
we're looking at.
arborvitae.
That's the one arborvitae that was put.
Okay,
Conservation recommended the dogwood, but it's not going to work because it'll probably die with the shallow stone, and then the black-eyed Susan behind it, which I guess could be kind of an interesting
mean,
thing
the-
to see that grow. But
Problem with the black-eyed Susan is that it doesn't screen you much. Mr. Levy, I know you're gonna comment on the arborvitae, right?
Yes, I am.
We tried to do it for you.
No, that was very good. Very good interference. The arborvitae will struggle just as any other tree will if it's shallow, even though it's a shallow rooted tree, because more soil is always better for anything. And as far as the dogwood is considered, depending on the variety, there is some varietals that are just simply not well suited for Connecticut, but varietals that will do just as well, if not better, than arborvitae in the kind of a challenging soil situation like this. They will establish themselves, and they do very well in the rocky environment of Greenwich. So I would say that it's all a question of getting someone who knows what varietals are good,
Right.
and that is the secret. But by no means is arborvitae any better than a deciduous tree. dogwood.
So why don't we just let the applicant work it out with Bianca, knowing that we would like to. I mean, the advantage is, of course, that it's nice to have full screen. And Patrick, you have your hand up.
Well, I mean, there are other evergreens as well. There's the taxus, if you want a shrub, and other things, ilex, and all
Okay.
sorts of things you could use that are good complements to native species. And also, there's hemlocks and pines that will certainly do well and are very used to kind of the scrappiness of Connecticut soils and rock.
One question, Patrick, go ahead. You had your hand up.
No, but you were getting to my point. I'm hearing that there's a suggestion for an evergreen tree here, other than arborvitae. If the commission's okay with that, we're happy to work with the applicant, because I think Ms. Gelby was mentioned that she's working with a landscaper who has some thoughts, and we can
Great.
obviously, pick from a book and try to figure out what the best plant is. If that's okay with the commission.
Yep.
So I'm just so I can understand, we're hearing evergreen. Is that what we're
Yeah,
suggesting?
that's
Okay.
what we're suggesting. And okay. Next question for you, Patrick. Some of the ledge removal is in the town right away. And I
Yes.
forgot to ask you about that. Do we need
So
to?
that's what the highway permit will be for
Okay.
the.
So all we have to do is make sure that the highway permit is obtained prior to.
We can. It should be prior to us signing off on the for zoning permit. Unless the work inside the site needs to go on first, but this is all about the driveway, so I can't imagine that it would happen.
Okay.
It's not like we're building a house and a driveway. It's the driveway only.
And do they
I think
need
there might be a little bit of bump. DPW may require that we sign off on everything before they give the permit.
Sure.
Yeah.
We can. It goes when there's no building permit. I think you're right, Nick. I think it gets a little messy, so we can do it that way.
what zoning permit?
We'll endorse it for permits, and then it'll go get the highway permit, and then we won't do a CO for the site plan until.
So how do we make sure that the ledge removal is okay with the highway department?
They won't grant a permit until
Okay.
they're satisfied with what's happening with the ledge, the geometry of the driveway,
Okay.
the grades, all of that kind of stuff. There's a
So we
lot to
just-
it.
Applicant just is gonna have to get a highway permit and okay.
Yep.
All right. Alrighty. Anybody else?
Just public comment again.
Do you have to notice, do you have to do anything about the ledge removal in terms of noticing the neighbors?
No.
Okay.
No.
Unless they're blasting, but
No.
we're not going there. We're not going there.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Does anybody from the public wish to comment on this application? This is at 22 Jerry Street. 22 Jerry Street. I see no one from the public. Please raise your virtual hand if you wish to comment on 22 Jerry Street. Okay. Seeing no public comment, does anybody object to closing this application at this time?
No.
Nope.
Seeing no objections, this application is hereby closed.
Oh, thank you.
All right. Bye-bye, Ms. Gaby.
Bye.
She sounded almost sad she wasn't coming back.
I know. We gotta make her come back. We need Mr. Tessie back, I think.
Are we back to J House? Yes.
Yep, we are. You got him?
Okay.
There he is.
Nope. There he is.
All right.
Hello there.
Hi.
Hi.
Me. Just a point or two. Miss Gaby, it would have been nicer if she had come on the screen.
Yep.
I like to see the people who talk. And the
All right.
other, Mr. Tessie, he may be listening. I mean, I've known him a long time. it kind of sometimes, I don't want to.
Mumbles. He
Well,
mumbles.
More
He
than
mumbles.
more than a presentation, it gets to be a conversation with a lot of interrupting and talking on top of everyone. I'm not blaming him. It just seems to happen that way. That's all. Just those two.
Oh, God. All right. Well,
Wow.
I changed my tie, so I changed my stripes.
All righty. Okay, Mr. Tessie. Our next application is 1114 JH LLC for a final coastal site plan and special permit to construct an addition to the rear of the existing hotel and restaurant building for seasonal outdoor dining for no more than 42 seats and a rear entrance canopy. This is at the J House, which is at 1114 East Putnam Avenue. And it's in a bunch of zones, including the coastal overlay.
Yes.
Go ahead, Mr. Tessie.
Thank you. Yes, we're here on the application described by Madam Chairman. And I should report to you that we also need to appear before the Architectural Review Committee. They're scheduled, I believe we will be on the next available meeting, but Bianca may know more in that regard. So I'm not sure if the commission just deferred to the ARC, or are you going to hold the matter
Yeah.
open?
So
and
we'll
hold it open?
hold it open because what we learned is if we close it before ARC has spoken, we kind of preempt them. And that's not really fair. So we'll just accommodate you as quickly as we can after that.
Okay. Appreciate that.
So do you want to present since Mr. Basili gave us some feedback?
Yes, I can just state that we are proposing, as I said, what you described. The proposal includes, while the outdoor dining is in session, the removal from service of seats inside the restaurant per the commission's current policy. We have suggested 48 seats in a lower level dining room that is more than by 6 the number of seats that we're proposing to remove. I understand there was some discussion on that subject by the commission members, and I'm happy to discuss it, but that's our proposal. That makes most sense for everybody moving forward with this program.
So, Mr. Tessie, the question that we raised yesterday was that downstairs space.
Yes.
In the recollection of those of us who were on the commission in 2009, was more of a private event, not a daily use space. And that's how I remember it being represented when you presented this originally. And so even though you're offering up more seats that you would close off during the outdoor dining season, that it would be preferable to have you close off seats that would have been used daily inside, that are a regular use rather than a more private event, special use. And so if you would just agree to close 42 indoor seats, because rather than, it doesn't matter about the 48, just go ahead and do the 42. Your only limiting factor, from what I remember of the application, is you reduced your total seat count by 1 seat at the time because you were reducing the nonconformity. Do you remember that? I think
we were, I don't know, remember if it was 1 seat or not, but I think it was more than that. But let me
what I
just
remembered is
address
it's a
the
very narrow. So what I remember is a very small reduction in total seats because you had a parking nonconformity. And so
we do have a non. Yes.
Yeah, so that was, and so the agreement was, and I believe it goes 343 was the old, and it goes to 342 or something like that, total parking, total, and that was how you were reducing the nonconformity. So as long as you stay within that reduction, you're good. And then what I would look for you personally is for you to be reducing the daily use. So go ahead.
Oh, well, actually, every space there could be daily use. Sometimes, like all restaurants, there are what we call the industry buyouts of certain sections where, in fact, if it's not an outdoor area, if it's not a particular indoor area, there would be a larger party that would say to the main restaurant, and all restaurants do it.
Well, okay,
But the point I'm trying to make is that area downstairs is not, a couple of things, is not select, it's kind of interesting. It's not necessarily limited to banquets. It does have a la carte on a, was it an every night? No, it is used for smaller parties, but the main dining rooms are used for larger parties on occasion. What's also interesting, if you're going to designate that for what it's worth, I do think it's worth something. It's quite interesting. If we're going to say, okay, that is a banquet space or catering space under the
It's
parking.
not. We don't have a definition of banquet space, and we never called it a catering space in our original approval. We called it a banquet space in the letter, and we don't have that defined in the regulations.
On the
So
regulations, yes, you do actually. Where you provide for, if a facility is providing banquets, you
Catering.
require.
we
Sorry?
have catering defined, Mr. Tessie, not the word banquet.
Well, I think they're synonymous in certain respects.
Possibly, you may believe they're
But-
synonymous, but our regulations say catering, not banquet. And since I remember Mr. Maitland
It
making
says,
this,
facilities. Well, I'm not going to beat it to death,
No,
but the
sir.
point is.
It says
you
catering.
reference
No,
just
sir.
Catering
It's-
facilities.
it says catering facilities, one term. It
Correct.
does not say banquet. And I very
that's-
specifically remember Mr. Maitland making this point during this application, that this was not, that this was, and he called it banquet seats, and they are singled out in the letter. So since they're not a daily use, what I would appreciate is you just close off 42 seats of daily use in the main dining room.
Well, I can't commit to that. I'll have to speak to Mr. Ferrari,
Okie dokie.
but we
You
have
do
time to do that since
Yep,
we've
you
now
have time to do
honored
that.
your
So
opinion.
just wanted to
Right.
ask you, that's what we would want you,
I
what
don't
I would
know-
want you to do.
Well, obviously you're one, but is that a consensus opinion? Just want to
I
report back to the
don't, we don't
boss.
do, you know.
Mr.
that
Well,
Jesse-
that's-
everybody
wait,
can speak for
Nick,
themselves.
Yeah, I
speak
would
for
like to
anybody
speak for
else.
myself.
Nick,
That would be
Nick,
good. That'd be a good thing to do.
Nick,
Yes.
don't interrupt, please.
Okay.
Oh, you didn't interrupt.
I just went through this with Mr. Tessie. So I am speaking for myself. It's the only person I can speak for.
Right.
Just wanted to lay that on the record. Now, Mr. McRae, go ahead.
So, Mr. Tessie, the proposed outdoor dining is daily use. When the weather's good,
Weather
you can go
permitting,
out there
weather permitting.
and it's adjunct to the restaurant, weather permitting. I'll give you that. The cellar areas, as I'm hearing this, are not daily use. They're more function spaces in the basement of the building.
Well, I didn't say that, but because I said the opposite, that they're flex spaces. I was trying to
Yes, but
describe
they're not
everything
daily
as a
use.
flex space.
They're not used every single day like the
It's
restaurant is
they're
used.
flex. They
For,
use them
for
some of
a
the time.
la carte, I would
Yeah.
say.
Yeah,
that's a
I
fair-
used it
that's-
today, but not tomorrow. There's nobody showing up, so they could be, empty
Yeah.
3
Could be
days out of the
larger
week.
parties that come in for a la carte. They could be
Okay.
banquets. They could be fixed menus.
So such as we do other outdoor dining facilities in the town.
Right.
If you have outside dining, you take the chairs from the inside out. So I'm in agreement with what Ms. Alvin's talking about. If you're doing 42 seats outside on this new deck, the 42 seats have to come out of your general daily use seating.
Yep,
Not
okay.
the flex space.
Thank you.
Not the banquet space, not the basement space, because you're moving it from outside, inside to outside.
Mhm.
Okay, so I think that's actually something to consider. It's daily use, not once in a while. It's the daily use. And that's the way you've got to think of it. Don't think of it the way you're flipping it where it's kind of some
Yeah.
time.
So second concern, not an application before us yet. What's St. Catherine's doing? Do you have any idea?
I honestly don't know. I don't represent him. Pat told me that, or wrote an email. I
Well,
said, I said, I don't know.
It is what it is. I mean, you're before us. You have a deal to have the parking at St. Catherine's, and it is what it is.
Yeah, it's
Mr.
been very
Laroe?
helpful. I think it's been mutually beneficial.
Right.
They work
Okay.
together. So I think that worked out well for everybody, including the neighborhood.
Okay, yeah, do you remember? Yes, Mr. Laroe, did you want to add something?
No, I in anticipation of this conversation, I wanted to make everybody aware that there's nothing in the description to talk about a proposed office use there. They're just wanting to rezone their properties in that corner. It's not the north side, it's probably the east side of Riverside Ave. So there's nothing in the description that would indicate that anything's changing with regards to the relationship, but it is for all those parcels in that corner of south of the Post Road and east of Riverside Ave.
So it's where the J House's parking is. That is.
Yeah, it's those parcels. It's also where TAG is. There's also a dentist office.
Oh, yes. Oh, so the whole parking lot, basically.
Yeah, the whole park. If you're familiar with the festival, it's all that space used for that is being requested for rezoning.
And Mr. Jesse, you saw the staff report, so you know the rest of it. You're still going to have to get the seasonal permit, and the hours of operation would be restricted to.
Yeah, it'll be consistent with your historical approvals for the existing outdoor dining. I saw the health department comments, which are appreciated.
All right, Mr. McRae's back.
Mr. Tessie, it's not evident on the plan. How do you get out to this new patio?
Well, I hope you walk through those doors that are supposed to be there.
Okay, I don't see the doors.
But fortunately, Mr. Molnar is on vacation. I guess he's entitled to vacation.
Okay, that's quite all right. I understand. I just don't see the doors, but technically it's access through the main restaurant.
Yes.
To the new patio. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. All right.
I agree with you. They're not the easiest plans, at least for me to read. But we'll appear before ARC and sure that'll get.
Hopefully they'll ask
into the pond.
Any other questions from the commission? All right. Does anybody from the public wish to speak on the J House application to add a second outdoor dining?
Okay.
Well, actually, I was told that the Riverside Association wanted to speak. Ms. Lantz, there she is. Okay, go ahead.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh, okay. Hi, I'm Kristen Lentz from the Riverside Association. We're watching it, and I will report back to the group what's happening, and talk to the members and follow this as it keeps coming along.
Well,
Because,
actually,
like,
this would be a good time to tell us if you have any concerns.
oh, the concerns are the parking.
Right.
I think that was the main concern.
So what we're trying to do is make sure that the parking demand does not increase, and that they offset and that they offset it in the past, we've had noise issues at this site, so we will put the same conditions. They came back in, I want to say it was in 2011.
Yeah, it's a decade ago. It's over a decade ago. I don't think there's been any problems.
Yeah, and at that time, we made some changes to the noise levels and to the amplification and to the hours of operation that reduced, because there had been a lot of neighborhood complaints, and the neighborhood complaints, to my knowledge, have gone away. So if you know about any concerns, it would be good if you let us know during this process so we can give the applicant a chance to address it.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Lentz.
Thank you.
All righty. Okay, anybody else wish to speak on J House? No, all righty. So we will continue this application. You're going to go to ARC. Are you there oh no, it's tonight. I knew
No, I
that.
think Kevin is away and I think he planned on next month, well, all of a sudden next month, next week. Jesus. Okay, but for next
Right.
month, but we'll
Yeah, it's
find
next-
out and we'll work with Bianca and Patrick to get us on, you to get us on when you can.
All right, okay, so we will see you when you come back. Thank you,
I
Mr.
guess the only other
Testa.
question I would have, if it's relevant, is does anybody have any, is there anything we should convey to the ARC in terms of any commission members' desires regarding this? Only
I
so
would be
that,
just be very clear as to what's being planted around the edge of the terrace.
okay, we'll note that. You noting that, Bianca, too? Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
All right. And finally, 6 Cacom Drive, that's Rachel Orsi. All righty. Hello, Ms. Orsi.
Good evening.
6 Cacom Drive, for a final site plan and special permit to remove and then construct a dwelling, pool, pergola, driveway with a revised layout, new septic, drainage improvements, site work, etc. at 6 Cacom Drive. With that, if you would go ahead, Ms. Orsi, and it's in the RA2, and the property is 3.4 acres. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For the record, Rachel Orsi from SE Minor on behalf of the applicant. With me here tonight is the project architect, whom you might recognize his name from the HDC Commission, Philip Dodd. Actually, if you wouldn't mind, I think he should be in the audience. And if you wouldn't mind adding him to the panel. If
Okay, he's
there.
on his way.
Thank you very much. All right. I think I see his name. Okay, I'll just get started. So listening to the briefing yesterday was very informative and helpful. Hopefully there's been a document shared with the commission that contains a letter along with associated materials that we believe addresses all the concerns raised at the hearing yesterday. I can quickly go through that letter and those documents just to make sure that we're all on the same page. I know yesterday at the briefing, there was one of the first concerns raised was in regards to the roof. And Mr. Dodd is here and can speak to that as well. But just quickly to summarize, the roof space is intended specifically for mechanical equipment and not to be a finished space. There is no stairwell access to this attic and does not have a head height of 7 feet or greater, and thus it should not contribute to the FAR, which is why there was no drawing originally included in the FAR drawings for the application.
So just for the future, what made us nuts was you knew that, but we didn't. So what we were saying is it's better if you document it for us, because then we look at it and we go, oh, okay, so the attic is not usable, but we didn't. It was just not there. And so we didn't know. Well, why didn't they give us the attic? So just for the future, then we won't have to pester you. All right.
Understood. So then included in with that letter, the third page was a sketch that Philip was able to prepare for the roof. Just for reference, is this something that the commission would be looking for in the future in regards to understanding the FAR of a attic space?
Yeah, it's an FAR drawing of the attic space. That's
Right.
that's the proof that whether
That's
it's
fine.
it's
That's all
7
we-
feet or not, and then
That's
whatever
it.
the relationship of the first to the second attic to the second floor.
And
I would
so-
just add to a mansard roof or Second Empire or any of those styles that they are more difficult to ascertain than a standard gable end roof. So when you're dealing with those more sophisticated architectural roofs, it needs more analysis, I guess. So
Understood. Thank you. Second item that was brought up during the briefing yesterday was in regard to the pool house. I would like to state that that pool house is existing on the property, and we do not intend to develop anything in regard to the pool house. I believe that was built back in early 2000s. And the only development occurring in the vicinity of the pool house is there is a roof over that extends from the pool house over some patio. That roof over is being replaced by a pergola. And then just to help hopefully satisfy any curiosity in terms of what's going on within that pool house, we actually did some research today to see what was on record, and we shared along with the letter the original floor plans from the pool house when it was permitted back in, I believe it was 2001. So we included that document for your reference, but just want to hopefully satisfy any concern that the pool house was included in the FAR as well as the volumetric calculations, but there is no development happening within that pool house. I was told there's not even a lick of paint is going to be changed on that. And then the final,
but the thing that we didn't know is, so we don't know that whether you have any issues in the pool house right now. And one of the questions that was being raised by Jackie was, do you have cooking facilities in the pool house? Because you would have to remove those at this time. And see, that was the thing. If you had just sort of told us either way, we would have known, but we didn't. Is this, because we don't allow cooking facilities. So
sure.
even though you're not touching it, we need to know that it's conforming to the zoning regulations.
Understood. Philip, would you be able to speak to this?
Yeah, I can jump in there. Hello, commissioners. There is no kitchen in there. So what is on the drawings that was submitted, I think back in 1999, is pretty accurate to what is currently there.
And it has not, and so we have no cooking facilities whatsoever. There's no microwave, that's kind of what we're looking to know.
There's I believe there's an under-counter refrigerator for soft drinks and a bar sink, and that's it.
Okay.
And I believe that's consistent with the floor plan that was submitted as well. From what we can see on there, it's just countertop with the sink and then the refrigerator. It's pretty open space.
All right, so you have done the FAR. I'm just getting back to the staff report. Nick, did you have a question on the pool house yesterday?
No, I think I figured it out. It was the connection, underground connection between the two spaces, but looking at the drawings in depth, I figured it out. I guess there's really some kind of a tunnel or something that goes from the pool house to the under the garage somehow, but it's completely buried according to the regulation by 3 feet. So
okay, and so the foundation protrudes, the pool house is farther than the pool house, but that was approved in the 90s. So the one other thing that we were struggling with is this thing about the trees were counted by clumps.
Yes. So hopefully we're able to address all concerns about trees on this property, and which was also included in the letter. And I'm not sure if maybe bringing up the sketch would be helpful, or if the commission was able to see the document submitted today, which was the wetlands planting plan. We color coded it just to clearly understand what's going on. So there are 6 trees being removed. And those trees are
so the 8 that's in the narrative is wrong. The narrative has 8 trees being removed.
So I think the 8 are being removed, but 2 of those 8 are being put back elsewhere. They're being relocated. So that could have been written clearer. We apologize for that.
Got you. Okay, so then it says and then the 10 and 12-inch trees that are being removed are the ones that you're relocating. Good luck with that. Okay.
So then to continue, 6 trees are being removed, and those are only being removed due to their location in regards to the proposed house. Additionally, we showed the 13 plants that are being installed. Those were approved via the wetlands application. And then we have also shown the 2 trees being relocated. And then finally, we show in blue, there are 15 trees being protected. I just wanted to make that clear because I think yesterday at the briefing, it sounded like there was some confusion in regards to why those trees, if
Yeah.
there were 15. So there are, oh, perfect. Thank you. Yes.
Okay.
So the 15 trees circled in blue, those are all trees existing on the property that there are going to be specific protections put around them,
These are
i.e.
not clumps. Not clumpy trees. These are trees, right?
The only ones I would say if we want to look at clumps, in the bottom, on the southern driveway.
Yeah.
And then if we zoom in right there,
Okay.
I believe one of those might be a multi-leadered tree. So we just counted it as one tree, but I think it might be 2 or 3 small trees in very close together. So that's why they was called out as a clump. But so technically there might be more trees within those specific construction fences, but we just counted it as one tree.
Okay, so for the future, we do better with individual with the listing of the trees. And what we would ask you is to provide staff with that, you know, how many trees are being removed, how many are being replanted, what the species are, removal, replanting, and to not clump, because that makes it very hard for anybody to inspect it.
Sure, and just to clarify, when you say clump, you mean the
I'm using
trees
your
that are
language. Your language says there is a group of 2 clumps of trees and we counted each clump as one tree. That's a problem for us because if somebody goes to inspect it, they have no idea what a clump is.
Okay, understood.
Okay.
Understood.
So how is someone going to verify that you didn't count this, you know, there were 2 trees or just be specific? So, because somebody has to go and follow up and check it, and they're not going to be able to if it's this vague thing. All right.
Noted. So there,
Anything else?
just
Go ahead.
the 15 trees that were circled in blue, those are being protected via
Right.
a construction fence.
Got it.
So during construction, we're trying to save as many trees on the property as possible with the proposed development, and that's why those specifically were called out with tree protection.
So, and the email that they sent, that Ms. Orsi sent to Jackie says, Jackie says the narrative notes 15 trees are being protected. I only count 12. And Ms. Orsi says we counted each clump as one tree, and those are the 3 you're missing. So that was, it makes extra work for people. That's it. Okay. All righty.
Understood. I think other than that, we believe, you know, we've addressed the concerns brought up at the briefing yesterday. And we are looking forward to a positive result for this volumetric application.
Madam Jenkins.
Yes, I think the only other thing was that conservation said to remove the fence that's in the conservation easement area, and I assume that'll be taken care of.
Correct. We actually, as part of our wetlands post-permit conditions, a demarcation feature is to be installed along that conservation easement line. So that fence will be addressed at that time.
And we would also ask you that anything you do, because if that fence is in cement, what we would ask you to do is to restore any damage that is done in removing that fence.
Understood.
All right. Thank you for remembering, Mary.
Welcome.
All right. Anything else from the commission? All right. Anybody from the public wish to speak on 6 Cacom Drive? Nobody wishes to speak on 6 Cacom Drive. Please raise your virtual hand. Just checking. Okay. And so with that, does anybody object to closing this application at this time? Seeing no objection, this application is hereby closed. And that's it. Thank you, Mr. Dodd. Thank you, Ms. Orsi.
Thank you. Pat, we'll see you soon.
And Mr. Basili, it's time to say goodbye.
Bye.
And by the way, And that was really nice the way you told Mr. Tessie not to be interrupting, because I was interrupting him and you didn't say anything to me.
Well, I don't say that to you. I only
Because, he wasn't letting me talk. So I was like, I'm just going to talk.
I'll tell you, I work with judges many years. You don't say anything to the judge. You say it to
No, I can't reach out and slap you like this from here. I can't reach. My virtual reach won't work. So you're safe.
Okay, well, thank
We'll see you soon.
All right, thank you very
Thank
much.
you. All righty, off we go. So I hereby move approval of the January 9th and January 23rd, 2024 minutes. Everybody who's here was there.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, done. Okay, now, we've got Brunswick. We've got 22 Jerry. And we've got Cakem.
Okay.
Okay, let's see. Give me a second while I get my notes together, and I'm having an issue with my computer at the same time.
Taking my clothes off.
Ah, good, okay.
Nick, what order did you want to go in? Sorry, just so
Let's start it with 270.
Thank you.
Just give me a minute. I'm totally good. Just probably here. My computer just went nuts.
All right, so let me do the chair thing. So seated on this application on 270 is Albin, McRae, Levy, Yeski, and Jenkins.
Okay.
Actually,
Great. You ready for this?
Yep.
It's this one. Okay, 270 Lake Avenue, application PLPZ 2023-473, final site plan special permit. Applicant is requesting modification of approved application PLPZ 2023-086, located on a 16.25 acre parcel in the RA2 zone. Whereas is required, the property came before the commission as a pre-application on 9/2022 public hearing under PLPZ 2022-442. The commission conducted a second site visit on 1/31/24, and application PLPZ 2023-086 was approved by the commission on 5/8/23. Commission finds that sewer comments issued on 1/3/24 are still pending resolution. The health department issued comments on 11/23/22, noting if the applicants didn't have any food service facilities on site, a plan review for licensing prior to your submittal to the building department is required. Beta issued memo on 4/17/23, indicating recommendations that the pavement markings and directional signage of the proposed site. Engineering Traffic issued comments on 4/14/23, indicating the proposal requires resubmittal prior to the zoning building permit. Engineering Drainage, the applicant submitted a drainage exemption dated 3/3/23. Wetlands issued a permit use questionnaire on 3/6/23, indicating wetlands are present, but no permit is required. Conservation issued comments dated 3/28/23, indicating recommendations to the plan. EMAC issued comments dated 2/2/24, indicating a disappointing review of the provided energy narrative and providing recommendations to the plan. And ARC issued comments dated 2/7/24, indicating approved as submitted. Therefore, motion to approve the application noting the following. Specific modifications to the previous conditions. The applicant will remove the existing maintenance tents and construct a permanent 1,200 square foot maintenance shed. The site shall contain 2 emergency powered natural gas generators. Buildings 1, 2 partial, 3 common area only, and 4 shall be converted to faculty housing use. Building 16 shall be used as the caretaker's cottage. Buildings 7, 8, 9, and 10 shall continue to be designated for educational purposes only, but no active use is currently contemplated. Modifications to the driveway educational use Lake Avenue side for student arrival and dismissal, and modifications to the site for playgrounds and landscaping. Prior to zoning permit, the applicant shall secure a satisfactory review by the, oh, got that already. Let's see, and I think applicant has provided successfully the recommendations by Beta to the pavement markings and directional signage of the proposed site. And all conditions indicated in the original 5/8/23 approval shall be continued, and the applicant shall address any and all remaining staff or interdepartmental issues.
Question for you before we do the second. You say
Yeah.
buildings 7, 8, and 9 would continue to be education only?
This is what, yeah,
Initially-
no, this is what was taken from the information that was provided to us. That
Yeah, but
buildings
they
7,
were-
8, 9, and 10 shall continue to be designated for educational purposes only. But no
Yeah.
active use is currently contemplated, so
Yeah,
it's,
so my question to you was 7, 8, and 9 within that educational use were designated residential, right? Originally?
no, originally,
So-
but right now, that was the, and that's the thing, was
So,
outlining the
I would just
modifications.
take out the continue and just say 7, 8, and 9 will have.
Well, no, this is the this is
All right,
specifically the
okay.
modification they're requesting
You
is,
know what I'm trying to say is
yes,
they're going from residential within the educational use to educational maybe, but we don't
Mhm.
know that. Okay.
Right.
All right. Do I have a second?
Second,
Ms. Jenkins has seconded. Ms. Jenkins, how do you vote?
aye.
Mr. Yeski,
Aye.
Mr. Levy,
Aye.
Mr. McRae,
aye,
and Albin is also aye, and with that, the motion passes 5-0. Jerry?
yes,
So in regard to the final site plan and special permit applications to construct a new driveway with 2 parking spaces on a non-conforming lot in the R6 zone at a property located at 22 Jerry Street, whereas the site presently has 2 units, 2 residential units with 1 bedroom each, whereas the required parking for a 2-family dwelling with 1 or 2 bedroom units requires 1 garage space and 1 outdoor space per unit, and the existing property does not have any parking on site. Whereas the existing dwelling appears to be non-conforming with respect to front yard setback. Whereas the proposal includes the construction of a driveway with 2 tandem parking spaces, removal of the concrete wall in the front yard, removal of the patio and stone walkway, and other site modifications. Whereas the driveway will be 13.4 feet wide at the curb, including flares. And then I'm not going to mention the part about parking services saying it removes 3 spaces, right? Whereas DPW Highway will review following the commission's approval. Whereas conservation commented and noted an increase in impervious surface and also gave landscaping input. Whereas the IWWA issued a green sheet sign off dated 12/4 indicating no wetlands, whereas the applicant submitted a drainage exemption form for a proposed increase in impervious of 165 feet. Whereas the commission has considered the special permit standards contained in section 617 of the regulations. Now therefore be it resolved that these applications are approved. The following conditions shall be met by the applicant. The planting plan shall be agreed with staff, and the applicant shall consider replacing the arborvitae with taxus, ilex, hemlocks, or other pines. Whereas the applicant shall meet all sightline requirements, and whereas the applicant must obtain a highway permit. And we're not going to put prior to anything else, right? And any other outstanding departmental comments shall be addressed.
Second.
Mr. Levy has seconded. Ms. Jenkins, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Levy,
Aye.
Mr. Yeski,
Aye.
Mr. McRae,
aye,
Albin is also aye. And with that, the motion passes 5-0, and we go to the last one, which is Kekum.
Okay, 6 Keckham Drive, application PLPZ 2023-484. Final site plan special permit, applicant seeking approval to construct a dwelling, pool house pergola, driveway and attendant site work, which will exceed 150,000 cubic feet in volume, located in the RA2 zone on a 3.38 acre lot. Whereas the commission finds conservation issued comments on 2/14/24 indicating comments to the proposal. Health issued a memo dated 1/19/24 indicating approval of a 6-bedroom septic system for the primary residence and a 2-bedroom replacement area for the pool house. Engineering division issued comments on 2/15/24 indicating resubmittal prior to zoning permit. Wetlands issued a permit number 2023-070 on 9/21/23. Therefore, a motion to approve the application noting the following: per conservation comments prior to the CO, the fence encroaching into the conservation easement area shall be removed. Any damage to the easement area incurred during the removal of the fence shall be restored. And the applicant shall address any and all remaining staff or environmental issues.
And then I think we just add that the applicant shall supply a full listing of all trees to be removed, protected, and relocated. Because that that was hard to follow. Do you want to have, and I think we would add in the whereases, we would add that the applicant has represented or stated on the record that there are no cooking facilities in the pool house. Just to be safe.
Okay.
And with that, do we have a second?
Second.
Ms. Jenkins has seconded. Ms. Jenkins, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Yeski,
Aye.
Mr. Levy,
Aye.
Mr. McRae,
Aye.
Albin is also aye, and the motion passes 5-0, and it's only 6:42 p.m. What are we gonna do?
Of course, we would be done before the ZBA meeting starts.
Hey,
Just-
you can make that meeting now and not have an issue.
And not have an issue, and we'll come watch. I was like, I looked at the clock before. And
I
was
need
like,
you to
"Oh
solve my issues
God."
before they happen, not after.
So there was a problem because you're limited, this whole Zoom thing, and Patrick was trying to run 2 meetings at the same time, and Zoom doesn't let you do that. And I was saying, Patrick will never finish by 7. And when it was 6:30, I thought we have a chance.
Oh, I should have put money on that one. But anyway, thank you for a very efficient and well-run meeting as usual, everybody.
I'm going to send you guys a reminder. Don't forget that we got the FOI guy, and he's coming on the 29th of, well, he's going to do a Zoom on the 29th of February. I'm going to send out a reminder to everybody. It's one of the best trainings we do. I mean, they're always good and they're always interesting, and you always learn something about what transparency. And Connecticut was it the first state? I think it was, we were the first state to approve the Freedom of Information and Government Transparency. So I'll send you guys out a reminder, but we invited the whole town.
It's the 29th. But that's not a Friday. Just so
Yeah. Did I say it was a Friday?
I thought you did. Maybe I misheard you. I thought you said Friday the 29th, but that's
I hope not. All right.
February
so-
or March?
Huh?
February or March?
February.
Okay. I was gonna say,
February.
because March 29th is Good Friday. We're not in the office.
February. Oh no, we went through this, took like back and forth because we had to work around because the RTM is invited and so's the BET.
Yeah.
And it took a while to get a date. All right. Okay. I'll
I'm
see
sorry, did you
guys.
say February 29th?
Yep. I'm
Yes.
gonna send the
That's
email
Monday.
out.
7 o'clock.
It's a Thursday.
It's a Thursday.
Thursday. It took a-
February
What
29th?
time? What time?
February,
Oh,
yeah,
no, I'm
February
looking at the wrong
29th.
It's
place.
7
Yeah.
o'clock.
7 o'clock.
Looking
7
at-
o'clock.
Yeah.
looking at-
7 p.m.
Yeah.
Levy's on a European calendar or something.
Yeah.
He's on the, are we Gregorian?
He's on the Julian, not the
He's
Gregorian.
on the Julian, not the Gregorian. I needed someone to rescue me.
There you go.
All right, you guys, stay out of trouble.
Bye.
All right, thank you.